PPP, you done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but you all got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we're talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on cardstock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt. Cause the market's down and you're down, it's all false. You ruin the hobby I love with the bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip me out? I think you dipped you out. What you talking about? I don't think you did, Jill. It's just a shake shit like a GOB's, like it's wholesale thing with the mid-FTs. Taking money from the people to pay most of them are broke, but that's okay. He's getting money even better tax-free, loving all the stimulus, the PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson.
Wait, remix.
Oh. Oh.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all, getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on card stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed thing with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson. You ruin the hobby I love with your bullshit.
What is going on, everybody? Hopefully, guys are doing well out there. That is right. It is time for another Thursday Night Live here on Sports Card Radio. It is now 8:33 p.m. on the East Coast, and it is 5:30 out here on the West Coast. And the Luka Doncic lovers and pumpers and everybody in this industry who tried to convince you that this guy was a good basketball player, a generational basketball player, like a Kobe Bryant, like a Michael Jordan, and like players like Magic Johnson, and even compared to white basketball players like the late, great Jerry West. Well, we are all now finding out what Sports Card Radio knew 6 or 7 years ago, that this guy was nothing but a product of the modern NBA, where you jack up shots, nobody plays defense, and then when the lights would become the brightest on Mr. Doncic, that he would crumble, and his game would crumble under those lights. You can't get away being a generational talent by not playing defense. You can't be a, quote, generational talent by not being able to hit free throws. And you're not going to be a generational talent by complaining to the refs every 38 seconds in an NBA basketball game. But we knew all this. And many people, Ryan, told us, oh, we need to watch the games. Oh, we need to watch the games. We did watch the games. And we saw players blowing by Luka Doncic time and time again. And now the world is finally seeing it on the grandest stage. And it's not like the Celtics are this world-beating team. It's the fact that Luka Doncic is a trash player in an NBA that rewards a lot of trash play. But at the end of the day, you ain't going to get that trophy, and certainly no ring if you're as trash as he is, particularly on the defensive end. We've got a lot to talk about. We will not be dunking on Mr. Doncic all night. In fact, this will probably be the only time we're dunking on Mr. Doncic, because we've done it pretty much our entire career here on Sports Card Radio, his entire career on Sports Card Radio. Now just people are finally wising up to what we knew all along. We've got a lot to talk about, Ryan. It appears that we have Mr. Filthbomb Breaks, which everybody, Ryan, when we started talking about breaks, who is the bit? I mean, I'm talking about going back all the way to like 2011. Who was I think he called himself maybe the Godfather or something of breaks. Like, who was the biggest guy back when breaks like started?
Wasn't the self-anointed guy David Gelfman and his little group?
I mean, he kind of anointed himself, but I recall there was an industry summit
Prior to that, there was an industry summit. This was probably 2013, 2012. And there was a meeting of all the group breakers at the time, and some of them are still breaking to this day. But I remember it was Firehand Cards who wanted to be kind of considered the godfather of group breaks. So some people may know who that is.
Well, we've had some interactions with Firehand Cards. He has the IQ probably just slightly above, paper lint or a paperweight on your table. But that's who people break with. And then, Ryan, remember we were doing a live stream? I think it lasted about 8 hours. Hopefully tonight doesn't go 8 hours, although it could. Currently unemployed, so it's not like I got a lot to do tomorrow. It was Backyard Breaks was the biggest breaker. And they were breaking all the product, and we just didn't know. We had to watch Luka Doncic play in an NBA game. We had to watch Whatnot and watch Backyard Breaks open all this product. So supposedly they were the biggest. Now we're being told, Ryan, it's a very fluid situation. Like a lot of people that root for Luka Doncic, it's like their gender. It's very fluid, very fluid. And now the fluid situation is that supposedly Filthbomb Breaks. Ryan, we're trying to 10x the hobby. Okay. And I was on a call today where we were discussing branding and names and trying to pick a name for a company. And it was a general consensus that it really didn't matter too much, but there are some names that, may just automatically get rejected. Like if you're starting an investment management company, Filthbomb Capital Management probably is not going to pass muster. But in this hobby, Ryan, Filthbomb Breaks is supposedly now, if we've gone from Firehand Sports Cards to Backyard Breaks to now Filthbomb Breaks. I feel like we're moving in reverse here in terms of at least from branding. But apparently Filthbomb Breaks is now the biggest, but we've got some major controversy as it relates to Mr. Filthbomb Breaks, as they could be potentially scamming customers. And you've got a lot of information on that. I don't know if you want to kick it off with this story, or if you want to kick it off with some of the things that you're trying to buy, or if you want to kick it off with Luka Doncic's mom still looking like the absolute money winner of the family. How is Luka so fat and his mom, here she is 7-8 years after the NBA draft, still looking tight? What the hell is Luka eating when his mom is still looking like a smoke show at the game the other night? I don't know where you want to start. I'll let you decide. Oh, and by the way, we are joined obviously by super producer Tim, who's currently trying to slide in the DMs of Luka Doncic mom, and he may have to dip out halfway through the show just in case she gets back to him.
Still waiting.
Still waiting. Okay. We won't hold our breath, but just in case, you have a track record of success, so we'll hold out for you. Ryan, where do you want to start tonight?
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about in the sports card world. I wish I could take 5 minutes to dunk on Luka Doncic, but I guess there's still another game to go, and a lot can happen. No team has ever come back from 3-0 in the NBA Finals, but stranger things have happened. So we'll wait for the games to play out, but it certainly looks good if you're a Boston Celtics fan and/or if you're a hater of Luka Doncic. But I want to welcome everybody in the chat, both new and old listeners. I bet we have a bunch of new listeners tonight as they are eagerly anticipating what I'm either going to say about them or what I'm going to be saying about some of their hobby heroes. Some of these people faithfully watch over on these apps like Fanatics Live and whatnot. But want to welcome everybody to the program. Mr. Bob Boozle's in the house. It looks like his wife has allowed him to watch another episode of Sports Card Radio. This _cardboard_life. Somebody you should be following on Instagram. We won't let Mark Zuckerberg censor this _cardboard life. He's always got a place over here in the Sports Card Radio family and chat room. A collector's dream is in the house. The card fanatic is in the house. We got Lucky Breaks in the house. We're not going to be talking about Lucky Breaks tonight, but we're going to be talking about some other breakers. We've also got an email about a hobby shop, very prominent hobby shop that has been accused of some very shady dealings, and they've been associated with some shady people in the past that we've talked about quite often on this show. I won't give it away, but let's just say if me and Luka's mom were hanging out, it would be all about the vibes. So we've got a lot to talk about on the show. But before we get into Filthbomb Breaks, I did notice that Top Series 2 Baseball came out. One of the biggest products, frankly, of all year in terms of print run, in terms of interest, in terms of revenue. And it looks like there's no good baseball players this year except for Heliot Ramos and a couple other guys. And so they've had to resort to putting autographs of Victor Wembanyama and or CJ Stroud into the product. And somebody sent me this on Twitter showing that it looks like Mr. CJ may have missed an autograph. So, hey, you know, put these guys in the product and then they may or may not sign the card. It looks like a win for Topps there. So maybe you'll be able to send that one back to Topps and maybe they'll get it signed, but expect delivery on that in 6 to 8 years. But should we get into the Filthbomb?
Let's go.
Live investigation.
Yeah. Filthbomb. I mean, maybe I've heard of them, but yeah, I didn't. I mean, I don't know who's telling you that they're the biggest. I mean, if Filthbomb is the self-proclaimed biggest, we do some self-proclaiming here on Sports Card Radio. We've been known to call ourselves the #1 podcast and this, that, and the other with not a lot of supporting data to support it. But it did came as a surprise to me. Filthbomb Breaks is the #1 breaker these days. And it certainly feels like if that's the case, the odds of the hobby 10xing on the back of a company called Filthbomb Breaks is probably relatively low, although it does seem like they have customers handing over money, hand over fist to them. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of your customers. And, we've got an interesting story here. I don't know where you want to start with it. Seems like it goes several layers deep.
Definitely an interesting story. There's 3 layers to this, and I broke this down into 3 parts. And so hopefully you can follow along on the PowerPoint presentation I will display to you as we walk through this. Did Filthbomb mess up a $20,000 order? We spoke with a customer who ordered $20,000 worth of brakes from Filthbomb. We spoke with Filthbomb himself. We spoke to some other customers, so we'll get into that. Our next topic about Filthbomb that we'll discuss are some of the brake spots funneled to a big customer named EP. We will discuss that. Certainly some people are throwing around some theories in that regard, and just the general perception amongst of Filthbomb amongst other breakers and in the industry. They certainly are one of the biggest, if not the biggest breaker on Fanatics Live, the live platform that Fanatics owns that's very similar to Whatnot. Whether or not they are the biggest breaker, I don't know. They certainly, and I've seen evidence of it, if not only this $20,000 order of people spending and buying a tremendous amount of brakes and a tremendous amount of cards from Filthbomb Breaks. So why don't we get into the first topic? Did Filthbomb mess up a $20,000 order? And I do want to reiterate that all day yesterday, I spoke with a customer who's upset with Filthbomb over this. I spoke with Filthbomb himself, and I spoke with several other customers. If any of those people, including Filthbomb, who I invited on the show, want to call in, they're more than welcome to call in and talk about any of these issues or talk about anything that I said that they either agree with or don't agree with. I'll try to present this information just as I kind of got it and now as I kind of see it, but try not to dive too deep into my opinion on what I think happened or should happen. Well, like I said, there was a customer who spent $20,000 with Filthbomb. I became aware of this situation with an Instagram post that the customer posted. Here is it, kind of chopped up, but so that you can see the cards that he posted. He says, "These are my cards. These hits were purchased from breaks on Fanatics Lives. Then my cards were sold by the breaker on eBay without my approval." So again, he says he bought into some breaks on Fanatics Live. Then the cards were sold on eBay without his approval. He did not name the breaker here. He said, "I learned of this after the sales were made." And he says that there's at least every card was sold except one from 8 case player breaks. This Instagram post a couple days ago was posted, and then Filthbomb Breaks replied. They said, "Hey, it's us." Filthbomb says, "I was doing him, the customer, a favor and consigning his hits like we do for our other biggest customers, offering a white glove service." Apparently there was a huge miscommunication, and we spoke about this at length this morning, and we are in the process of buying back his cards that they sold. And they said they sold approximately $3,500 worth of his cards. So buys into the break, didn't get anything shipped. Those cards were sold on eBay. After I talked to the customer, I was able to find out that he spent exactly $22,666.86 with Filthbomb Breaks between May 21st and May 28th, mostly, I believe, on Bowman, the new Bowman baseball release. Now, the customer works overseas, lives in America, but works overseas. So there's some shipping issues, right? He can't just have stuff shipped to his house. Maybe it'll, sit out on his porch, but he kind of needs to work with people he buys cards from with shipping. The customer wanted the cards shipped to another breaker who was going to hold all these cards for him, the $22,000 worth of cards. Filthbomb, though, wanted the customer to release him of liability if he shipped those cards to the breaker. And you can see here it is in the text. Okay.
Hold on. Go back to the previous slide. Sorry, I'm just trying to follow this story. And I've got Luka Doncic's mom on my mind, so I'm trying to just follow this. A customer who lives and a customer who works overseas but has ties to America, is an American citizen, let's just say, I'm assuming probably comes back to the United States every once in a while, but is probably permanently employed overseas. He spends $22,660 this is why I got fired. 22,000 over 22,000 with Filthbomb Breaks in a week's time during May. Customer wanted the card shipped to another breaker. So because he lives overseas, he didn't want them, $22,000 worth of merchandise shipped overseas. There's VAT, there's all that stuff I don't really know much about, but I'm assuming he didn't want to have to declare 22,000 coming into wherever he is overseas. So he wanted Filthbomb Breaks to ship the cards to another breaker, a different breaker, not one that's not employed or even related. And it sounds like, we'll find out later, doesn't even really like Filthbomb Breaks. So that's very interesting. And this other breaker was going to basically be a custodian of these cards for him. Correct. And hold these cards, similar to like Check Out My Cards, similar to Golden Auctions, similar to I think there's a service called Ship My Cards, where it's almost like a middleman, if you will, or a vault, if you will. This other breaker was going to serve as kind of the vault. And Filthbomb wanted the customer that lives overseas and that spent $22,000 to release Filthbomb of the liability, just in case that other breaker dipped, or that other breaker did something stupid with the cards, or his house burnt down, heaven forbid. But if something happened to the cards, Filthbomb didn't want to have to come out of this, even though he's the biggest and baddest breaker, didn't want to come out of his pocket for the 22.6. Did I follow that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Interesting.
And so we even have the text correspondence here, where in the blue, that's the customer, in the black, that's Filthbomb's replies. So the customer said, apparently he reached out to the guy and said, hey, he's good with it shipping to him. And then the blurred out part is him putting the guy's name and address. And then the customer says, hey, I appreciate you. I'm sorry to be difficult. And being difficult meaning, hey, I'm overseas. I need these cards shipped to this other guy who's going to hang on to them. Filthbomb replies about an hour later, says, hey, we can do it if you don't mind absolving us from all liability in text here, should something go wrong. And now what I later found out from talking to Filthbomb is that Filthbomb has beef with the breaker whose name I blurred out, because no need to drag them into this if we don't have to. So Filthbomb has beef with the breaker that the customer was trying to send the cards to. So he wanted in something in writing about it. Filthbomb went so far as to tell me that he thought he was being set up for a scam. He thought this guy came in, bought $22,000 worth of shit, was gonna send them to this breaker that he doesn't like, and then maybe there would be some kind of chargeback, or I don't know, some kind of scam. That's what Filthbomb said.
That's reasonable to think that.
Could be definitely reasonable to think that. So then Filthbomb says, hey, he says, hey, we can do it if you don't mind signing liability. Then Filthbomb hard pivots and says, hey, we can do this white glove service with you, helping you decide what to sell, what to keep, what to grade. We'll find out later that Filthbomb has a very active eBay account where they sell people's cards. So he says in a message, hey, also, if you ever need help with grading, consigning, we offer that service and keep it all here in house. We offer our exact costs for our we offer our exact cost for our biggest customers. So the customer, instead of shipping them out to the other breaker, they get on the phone and they have a conversation, and they work out that Filthbomb was going to keep the cards. Now, the customer who I talked to believed that Filthbomb, first of all, they had to sort all these cards. It was $22,000 worth of cards in these huge player breaks. So these things had to be sorted, and he had to actually know exactly what he had. So the customer thought Filthbomb was going to take about 7 days, and then they were going to check in before doing anything. The customer did not hear anything from Filthbomb after a week. I think it was almost 2 weeks. He was about to actually contact Filthbomb, but then he got emailed a spreadsheet of cards from Filthbomb saying, hey, these are the ones we have sold. And you could see the spreadsheet. We'll take a closer look at the spreadsheet in a little bit. about the second topic we'll talk about regarding Filthbomb. But this is Filthbomb actually sitting at their computer desk, taking a picture of this and sending it to the customer saying, hey, these are the cards we've sold on eBay. It was about $3,000 worth of stuff. It was not everything in the break, but it was some decent shit. And so the customer was upset. And you can see in these messages, he said, you also said you'd go through everything and sort it and get back to me, which you did not. Now I see there wasn't a delay. He thought he was going to be contacted in a week. It took almost 2 weeks. Now I see it wasn't just the delay. You sold all the cards I wanted to keep. Sorry, but this really sucks. I asked them to be shipped elsewhere, and you wanted me to submit in writing that Filthbomb was not responsible for them. Well, they all stayed in your hands, and it's pretty much as fucked up as it could possibly get. So you have an upset customer here. He spent 20 racks. It's now like going on 4 weeks after these breaks, and he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have the cards he wants, and those cards have already been sold by Filthbomb. Filthbomb in text messages does take some accountability here. He said, that's my fault. Like I said, I'll get anything you want, meaning he's going to try to purchase the cards back. Just make a list and I'll find them. Then the customer reiterates, this is a collector by and large. This guy, by and large likes to keep cards. He said it was a player break, so I didn't buy players that he didn't want. He bought into this break. He bought players that he wanted because he wanted those cards to mainly keep. Now, was he going to sell some of them? Sure. He spent $22,000. He wasn't going to keep every card, but the good ones and some of the key players he wanted. So Filthbomb, again, in black text, reiterates here, just a miscommunication on my part. I did what I did with EP and my own cards. We'll come back to that sentence here in a little bit. I'll get any cards that you said you wanted to keep. I promise you those cards weren't PSA candidates, so you don't have to worry about cards changing. Now, the customer, basically what he's being offered here. He spent $22,000 in breaks. He never got the cards. $3,000 worth of cards were sold. Some of the ones he wanted were sold. He didn't want replacements. He didn't want the breaker to now go back out a month later and try to buy these on the open market and send to them after they have been rubbed down with Kurt's Card Care juice and God knows what else. Customer didn't want that. He wanted a better resolution. He wanted his money back. When Filthbomb balked at that, that is when the customer posted on Instagram. And again, he kind of took a measured approach to his post on Instagram. He didn't even call out Filthbomb in the post. He was really kind of more asking a question. Hey, if this was you and this happened, what would you do? Now, I do have an update from today. It appears the president of Fanatics Live has reached out to the customer. They had a lengthy conversation today. They want to work with both parties to come to a resolution, but the customer is very steadfast in wanting a refund and is holding firm there. He does not want third-party cards. He doesn't want you to go out and buy another Dylan Cruz to 100 and call it good. He wanted this one right here that was pulled. He wanted this redemption card. He wanted several other cards that were sold. He doesn't have them. Filthbomb still has all his other cards from the break. And there's kind of an impasse right there. And so it looks like Fanatics themselves is going to be the ones to mediate this. And so I asked the question, what does Filthbomb owe to Filthbomb owes something to this customer. They spent $22,000.
Yeah.
Nothing has been shipped. This all actually could have been avoided. I think, again, not to throw my own personal take in here, but I said the same thing to Filthbomb in a text message today. I said, If he had just shipped the cards to the person he wanted them shipped to, we wouldn't be talking about any of this. We would be talking about Luka Doncic for 2 hours or 3 or 4 or 5 or not
Probably.
3 or not 4 or not 5 or not 6. So Filthbomb made a grave error there. I think if Filthbomb had communicated his white glove service a little better from the get-go, I think we're not talking about this right now. And thirdly, if Filthbomb had just, these guys, we're going to talk about a guy who's spent $3 million. If you think 20,000 is a lot, Filthbomb personally told me about a customer who has spent $3 million with them. So if these guys are raking in money hand over fist, refund the guy $22,000. And guess what? We're talking about Luka Doncic, not Filthbomb Breaks. So again, I don't want to get too much into my own personal thoughts on this, but what do you think should be done with Filthbomb and this particular customer?
Yeah, a couple things. I think that there was a breakdown in communication. Sometimes I think that is due to the way these guys are communicating, and they're communicating on Instagram DM. And look, I understand a lot of business goes on Instagram DM, and then it transfers maybe over to text message. A really good kind of customer relations management software, like from Salesforce or something. Sounds like I'm a sales agent for my boy Mark Benioff. But look, get some software where you can put this customer in there, store these communications, and maybe that will be a little bit of a solution. Because I think we have a little bit of communication issue here. Also, I think Filthbomb Breaks is, I would say, if he didn't go on to sell the cards, this was just kind of a lack of communication. And, but he said, hey, I have this white glove service. And then he just started listing and selling cards. Maybe it got put in the wrong pile, and maybe Filthbomb Breaks is this large organization with a lot of employees. But again, that comes down to like customer relation management. You should have some software. I bet these guys probably operate on sticky notes and Instagram DMs. And if you had proper controls and checks, these types of things don't happen. And look, if it's a $200 order, you reach into your pocket and you do it. But this is over a $20,000 order. And again, it comes from a guy that actually wanted to keep these cards. And now he's kind of put in a tough position where the collector wants the cards that they pulled. Now, here's a side tangent, Ryan. I mean, who's that? Dylan Cruz? Is that his name? Okay. So if I don't know what a Dylan Cruz 89 out of 100 is worth. I don't even know who Dylan Cruz is, to be honest with you. Okay. To just be 100 with everybody out there. But let's assume that was a Dylan Cruz out of 5. You know what I mean? Would the customer be like, I want a refund? Or let's say Superfractor. I think that like he would still want his cards. So the fact that the customer is somewhat almost free rolling Filthbomb Breaks at this point, because they bought into the break. They got their cards that they got. They certainly didn't get $22,000 worth of cards. Filthbomb made an error, whether it was him or his staff or a combination of all that, more than likely, and he started selling some of it. But if the customer had pulled $30,000 worth of cards, he'd probably be looking to get his cards back rather than the $22,000.
Possibly, but I still think all of this could have been avoided by several things that Filthbomb himself could have done. Ship the cards to the person he wanted to begin with. If you offer some kind of white glove service, then it better be white glove service. It better be highly organized. And the customer thinking you're going to check in 7 days doesn't hear from you for up to 2 weeks. And then when he does hear from you, it's, hey, I already sold these cards.
That was the huge error. That was the huge error, that he was ordered to ship these cards to somebody else. Apparently, Filthbomb Breaks and that the person that he was requesting to ship to either don't get along, or I don't know. I don't know the drama there, but maybe there's some previous drama there. And then Filthbomb offering grading, consigning, and then immediately selling some of the cards, that was a huge mistake. And in my opinion, they need to write a check for whatever it was, $22,000. That's what they need to do. And if they're the biggest breaker, you should be able to write the check. You should be able to write the check. Now, will it hurt? Yeah, probably a little bit. But you should be able to write a 20. I lost my job last week and I can write a $22,000 check. Okay. Like you should be able to write a $22,000 check.
You should.
If you're the biggest breaker, guys, and you can't write a $22,000 check, which again, it's not a $22,000 net check. He's gotten some money from selling these cards, maybe 3,500. So now we're down under 18,000, and then presumably there's some cards left over. And let's just assume it's another $2,000 worth of cards. So we're talking about $15,000 here. If you're the quote unquote biggest breaker, which some people are claiming Filthbomb Breaks is, and you can't write a $15,000 check to appease a customer, this hobby breaks are screwed. This hobby is screwed. In another 12 months, a different one of these breakers, somebody will be telling, it'll be Bombastic Breaks will be the number one breaker in the community. It'll go from Firehand to Leighton to Backyard Breaks to Filthbomb Breaks, and it'll be some other fucking stupid name breaker that can't take care of their customers, doesn't have any organizational skills, can't get this seems like a rather simple situation. Once the customer requested where to ship the cards, I understand Filthbomb Breaks wanted to be released from liability. Write up you should have an attorney. If you're the biggest breaker, you should have access to an attorney, not necessarily on retainer, not necessarily in-house, but you should be able to make a phone call and say, hey, here's a situation. Can you write this up? I'll send you, $800 or whatever for your time. Seems reasonable for an attorney to write up a very simple one-page contract. And you don't even need to necessarily do that. But if you're the biggest breaker, you should have access to that. But if you're a mid-sized breaker, type up a Word document, a signed contract in the eyes of a court is going to be as good as if Filthbomb sent it or his attorney sent it. Write something up and say, hey, I pulled these cards for you. Have an inventory of those cards. I am sending these cards via FedEx overnight. Have the tracking number. If you want to be super safe, have you videoing yourself, putting the order together and taping it and dropping it off. And then, boom, you're done. You're done. Just take care of the customer. Customer asks for something. Apparently you offer white glove fucking OJ Simpson service. That would have been white glove service. Don't you agree, Ryan? White glove service would have been the customer wanted the card shipped to somebody else. White glove service would have been packing those cards up, maybe having the customer sign something, agree to something, DocuSign, whatever, putting a stamp on that, sending it out, and now you're done. Now Filthbomb Breaks going live and probably saying, let's go on their next break when they pull a Dylan Cruz out of a $300 hobby box that's worth $100. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. And then you maintain your leadership as the quote unquote biggest breaker on Fanatics Live. And we go from there. But clearly he messed this up. And I think he should reach into his pocket for $22,660 and change. And if he can't, guys, the same is true today as it was 13 years ago when we showed up at the industry summit. Ryan and I looked around. All those dorks were staying at the Orleans. Ryan and I were staying at some, swanky suite on the Las Vegas Strip. The rest of these dorks were staying at the Orleans, which you couldn't pay me to do. And we looked around the room and none of these guys had a nice watch on. None of these guys had a nice pair of pants or a nice pair of shoes on, but they were calling themselves the biggest and this, that, and the other. It's one thing to call yourself big. It's another thing to actually be big. Very similar to Luka Doncic, Ryan. It's one thing to be called a generational talent. It's another thing to actually be one. And clearly, Filthbomb Breaks is not him. What else from this story? I think there's more.
There's definitely more to this story. And before we get into that, you guys need to get on over to cbhobby.com and take 10% off. You lose promo code Will Greer, guys. Guarantee you he won't leave you hanging on a $20,000 order. cbhobby.com, ladies and gentlemen, as we get our grift going over here at Sports Card Radio. I see these other guys. We're going to be talking about a $3 million customer that Filthbomb Breaks has. That's according to them, by the way. It's according to them. They have a customer who has spent $3 million. So you betcha I'm going to be grifting our way to the hobby for 6 or 7 figures. And it doesn't look like Luka Doncic is going to be winning a Larry O'Brien trophy. So maybe I'll win this Lakers one. Where, oh yeah, the Lakers won not 1, not 2, not 3 titles with Kobe and Shaq. So maybe I'll send that to Luka Doncic since he's never going to get one. Derek Jeter cards. I'm mad because there was a really nice Derek Jeter lot on eBay and I missed out on it. So now I'm like doing the dumb thing. I'm like chasing after another Derek Jeter lot because I lost the other one. A real GOAT, Tiger Woods. These can sell anywhere from $650 on up. PSA 8 condition, so that's pretty good. Pop 5. It's at 622 with 48 minutes left. A couple guys who know something about championship rings. James Worthy and Magic Johnson. Luka Doncic, we saw one of these last weekend for upwards of $2,000. It sits at $1,100 with 47 minutes left. So we will see where that one ends up. Kobe Bryant, 2 of 10. This is at $2,200. Nice little patch there. Is it game worn? It says game worn. Not that you can trust anything that Panini says. And this Mike Trout was to his jersey number. It's in rough condition, but these cards kind of came rough. 5-star. 2013. Like his 3rd year in the league. So that's pretty cool. I definitely want to win this for Luka, though, so that I could send it to him, courtesy of Sports Card Radio, so that he knows what a championship trophy looks like. cbhobby.com, guys. Will Greer is the promo code, where you save 10%. And on a $250 box, I'm not very good at math, but that would be $25 off and free shipping. Luka Doncic cards are down over the last year, 10%. Where will they be headed if he loses tomorrow? So I don't know what the consensus is in the chat. I don't know what the consensus is in the community, what Filthbomb should do here. But they need to do something, because if they had just refunded these people, we'd be on our 43rd minute talking about Luka Doncic. Instead, we've talked about this. The president of Fanatics Live is aware of the situation and is trying to get it resolved. Might be one of our viewers. So shout out to you, buddy. You're probably working a little overtime tonight.
Do you think this is something that could affect a breaker's allocation? Is this type of thing?
I think somebody that I talked to made a really good point. They said, hey, breakers have been suspended for far less on Fanatics. Breakers, if they just pull product, they start to sell it and then it's selling for too little, so they pull it off the table. They've been suspended for like 2 weeks. I think that happened to Overtime Rips. That has happened to some other people in the hobby, where you can get suspended from Fanatics Live for not doing that much and for really piss poor handling of this guy's situation here and letting it come to this. Just letting it come to this, I think it is a bad look, because, hey, letting something like this come to this, guess what? This wasn't the only thing we heard about Filthbomb Breaks. It's kind of like the floodgates kind of get let open, right? And so in the midst of the communication that I had with people, there were several people more than 2 that told me, hey, you should really look into how they funnel all the big spots in their brakes to a guy named EP. And the funny thing is this is a screenshot from today where Filthbomb is talking about how we're going to talk about him on Sports Card Radio. And in the chat is the guy EP1121 right here. It's probably hard to see, but you could see that EP's in this chat. It's this big high roller guy. You can see that Filthbomb mentioned EP to the customer that spent $20,000. In the apologies, it said, hey, just a miscommunication on my part. I was trying to do what I did with EP and my own cards, this white glove service. Well, apparently the guy they white glove cards for is this guy named EP. And what people were telling me is that a few months ago, all of the chase and or expensive spots in Filthbomb's breaks were automatically given to the user EP1121 for $0. And you might think, hey, these spots must cost, a couple $100, or maybe it's a gift, or maybe it's credit, or whatever it is. But here's one example. The red spots in a 100 case break of 2024 Top Series 1 went to EP for $0. And again, you can track this on the Fanatics Live app. This is how people know this. That spot was worth around $17,000. And that was given to EP1121. People weren't allowed to buy it. People weren't allowed to buy the reds in that spot, which had the L.A. De La Cruz rookie card and other cards you could chase of him. And in 100 cases, hey, maybe you pull something good of that. Here's the funny thing I learned about this whale. It's very common in the group break industry to have whales. Tom Petty's son is an example of a group break whale. Tom Petty's son virtually propped up the industry before Jeff Wilson told you guys to come in and fucking collect cards. Tom Petty's son is like, ask an old school group breaker about Tom Petty's son, and I'm sure they'll have a good story. So these whales are actually kind of a common thing. Now, here's the funny thing about this guy, EP. He apparently doesn't take shipment of any of his cards. He instead lets Filthbomb do this white glove service, listing the cards on eBay. And you could see Filthbomb Breaks has sold 49,000 items on eBay. It's quite a bit. In my conversation with Filthbomb, and this was probably a lapse of judgment on his part, he told me that EP has spent over $3 million with them. Not one, not two, but $3 million. And from the stories I heard about how this guy buys into breaks, sounds pretty believable. So anyways, one of the interesting things about EP and the fact that he lets Filthbomb sell all his cards is, here's this spreadsheet that was sent to the customer who bought into $20,000 worth of break spots, and Filthbomb started selling their cards, and they sent him this screenshot. The funny thing about this screenshot, if you zoom it in at the bottom, you can see the tabs where they're white gloving for EP. Here's EP right here, tab for EP. Here's Transcendent Steve/EP. Steve is one of the owners of Filthbomb Breaks. So customers, they notice this stuff. They notice who gets the good spots. They notice who buys into these breaks and gets what. And it can be somewhat competitive. And so the rumors going around is that EP is an investor in Filthbomb. Or that EP and the owner, Steve, you can see the name right there, Transcendent Steve and EP, they split the cost of the teams and the breaks and then split the proceeds from the sales on eBay. Many people believe that Filthbomb hands out the best, most expensive spots in their breaks to EP, then they overcharge on everything else to cover those costs. passing down what was given away to EP to regular Joe customers. I also was told that EP is just some random rich person who likes to blow big money on breaks and also buys into breaks from other breakers. So what do you think about this situation with Mr. EP, this guy who has spent over $3 million with Filthbomb, doesn't take delivery of the cards, lets Filthbomb sell their cards on eBay. Filthbomb will oftentimes be credited for buying into these breaks for $0, which again, you can track on the Fanatics Live app. That's how you know what these people pay. You can go to a break while it's going on and see how much the spots went for or how much they're being sold for. So savvy customers have been keeping track of this because, again, these guys are the biggest. They're breaking 100 cases of 2024 Series 1. How long would that take? These spots were very expensive. They appear to be funneled in some cases to some guy, and then those cards end up on Filthbomb's eBay. What do you think about that?
Well, I tell you what, if the vice president of Fanatics is watching and a guy gets gifted or gets spots for $0, does that not sound like a way? I'm assuming Fanatics takes a percentage off of sales. Am I correct on that? I don't know, but
Correct.
Am I correct that when you buy a team on Fanatics, that is how Fanatics is making money off of Fanatics Live? They take some kind of percentage there, and maybe it's a sliding scale depending on the breaker and the volume. I don't know, but this sounds like a great way for Filthbomb to avoid paying for the most expensive spots if he's just giving them for $0 to either a business partner or even a customer. Sounds like a way to avoid fees. And if you're going to get suspended on Fanatics Live and or get your allocation cut, this seems like a number one way to do that. By taking the best spots, the most expensive and lucrative spots, selling them off platform, very similar to people try to make transactions off of eBay, or they try to take transactions off of Golden, or they try to take transactions off of a marketplace to avoid paying the 10, 15, 20% or whatever the fees are. This seems like to me a way to do that. And if you're Fanatics, how are you sitting back and allowing this to happen? This seems like a really easy way. It obviously seems like a pretty easy way for the breakers to do that. And whether or not it's an employee or a partner, or they're going in halvesies on the spots, I don't know. We're certainly aware of other whales in the breaking industry, and have heard many stories about people coming through and spending tons and tons of money on these things. And to them, maybe a couple $17,000 might not be a lot of money. Might be a very small amount of money. But in the world of breaks, it is a pretty big amount of money to spend on a single break on a single team. And if Filthbomb Breaks is crediting that purchase outside of the Fanatics app, they are obviously cheating Fanatics out of a payment there. And that seems like, to me, something, if I was Fanatics, I would want to get to the bottom of, maybe even faster than what happened to the previous customer that we talked about. Because this goes right to the bottom line of Fanatics. This is why Fanatics bought Tops. Fanatics did not buy Tops just to make pictures of men and to resell them. They bought Tops so then they could collect a commission every time that picture of a man was sold. That's why they bought PWCC, which we may talk about later. And that is why they started Fanatics Live, to collect a commission on every break that happens on their platform. And also, we know that hosting a app like Fanatics Live is certainly not free, certainly not cheap. Live streaming with comments and users and streaming video is not cheap. That is why you watch a YouTube video and there's like 19 million ads on it, unless you pay for the premium. So I am not concerned, but I am alarmed that Filthbomb Breaks is allegedly either the biggest or one of the biggest breakers. They fumbled an order worth over $20,000 to a customer, started selling their cards, didn't follow directions, don't have any processes internally in place, and the Fanatics Live president has to get involved. But now we're learning that they could be skirting Fanatics Live's commission payments by selling spots, quote, under the table to different whales out there. And if anything is going to get your allocation cut and turn you from being, quote, the biggest breaker to used to be biggest breaker, this seems to be a quick way to do that. Because if I'm Fanatics, I certainly could give the allocation that Filthbomb Breaks is getting to any number of breakers and not miss a beat. It's not that Filthbomb Breaks is taking care of their customers over and above, as we saw evidence of. They certainly don't have a name or a brand that really screams 10xing the hobby. And when they have a top customer come in, instead of running those payments through the platform so Fanatics can get their cut, they run those off of the side and then overcharge or sell the rest of the spots to the peasants that are tuning in on Fanatics Live. I think we need a complete rule book for these breakers, because they constantly want to write their own rules, create their own products, sell products outside of the commission structure, get instructions from a customer and ignore them. And this is why we've constantly talked about breakers in the past, is because they just don't seem to be catering to an industry where white glove service, in my opinion, is deserved. We're buying pictures of men. This card of Kobe Bryant is a piece of cardboard with a picture on him. This is a truly discretionary luxury item. There's no one in the world that needs a sports trading card. We're talking one of the most pure discretionary items that you could absolutely buy. At least, Ryan, a Mercedes G-Wagon gets me from point A to point B. At least a Rolex watch will continue to tell time, and I don't have to change a battery. I don't have to wind it as long as I wear it. It can tell me the date. It can tell me the time in 2 different time zones. And if I wanted to go scuba diving, I could probably go 10,000 meters deep, and it's not, the watch is still going to work. Okay. At least it can do that. We're talking about a picture of a man where they make millions and millions and millions of these things. They do absolutely nothing. So this industry deserves white glove. If you are buying into breaks, you deserve to be treated like you are buying a luxury product. And it's shocking to me, Ryan, as somebody that has bought multiple Mercedes cars. I have bought multiple Tesla automobiles, and I'm not going on to just fucking flex my shit. Okay. I lost my job last week. Cybertruck came in, and I don't know if I'm able to afford it. Okay. So it's not like I'm sitting here fucking balling. Okay. But I bought multiple Rolex watches. Okay. Multiple Rolex watches, multiple Mercedes Benz, multiple Teslas. Every single time I was white gloved. I was white glove serviced. Okay. We're talking about pictures of men that do nothing. The way you elevate yourself in this business is provide that white glove service. And in my opinion, if you're going to be in bed with Fanatics, you better not be pulling commissions off the table. And that's what it appears Filthbomb is doing. And that's what's strange to me, is that you have a partner in Fanatics. Filthbomb would not exist likely if it wasn't for Fanatics. This is a critical partner to you. And you should understand that if you're going to sell their product, that you need to be doing that on Fanatics terms. And if not, if you don't want to deal on Fanatics terms, well, guess what? Go buy Kobe Bryant cards and lots and resell them. Go buy Michael Jordan cards and resell them, or go buy slabs and resell them, or become a repacker like Backyard Breaks. But if you're going to sell Fanatics products, you should be taking care of the customer in a high standard and do it in a respectful way. And in the case of this, where you're funneling the best products and the most valuable spots essentially off platform, that to me is something that can absolutely get you cut off from Fanatics Live and cut off from Fanatics. And I would be shocked if a year from now, we're not talking about Filthbomb Breaks as being used to be considered one of the biggest, just like Platinum Breaks, just like Backyard Breaks, just like Firehand Breaks. These guys all used to be big, but then they couldn't figure out how to do business. They couldn't figure out the white glove. And somebody else does, and they get the allocation, they get the product, they get the customers. And because it's not like what they're doing is very hard. You're literally sitting.
You figure out how to run a scam. You figure out how to run a scam. I mean, we could talk about a little bit how Filthbomb got big and what do these other breakers feel about Filthbomb. Certainly, these breakers aren't going to come on Sports Card Radio and talk about it because they're scared. They're scared about their own allocation. Filthbomb is one of the golden children of Fanatics, so you certainly don't want to be caught saying anything bad about Filthbomb because maybe you get a talking to. Now, the thing about Filthbomb is there can be a little bit of arrogance seeping out of some of the people over there.
Shocking.
I have heard that at the most recent Tops conference, they would go to other breakers and tell them, hey, kind of in a mocking way, hey, you should quit and come work for us. Come shut down your operation and come break with Filthbomb. You're going to end up here anyways. Because we're the biggest, we're the best, we're the baddest. So there's a little bit of an arrogance in the way they operate and the way they move about the industry, which is a little subtle different than some of the other breakers that have come up in this industry and sometimes want to play kumbaya with each other. Now, one of the things I found very questionable with how Filthbomb sells their breaks, and I told him this. I told him this in a text message today. I said, look, people can spend their money how they want, but I don't know if this is Michael Rubin and Fanatics' idea of how to sell break spots. And I'll use this Kobe Bryant card as an example. They call it serialing a break. So let's say the Lakers in a break, it's $300 for a spot, okay, to get the Lakers and to get an opportunity to get this card. Okay, let's say it doesn't sell. Maybe you're sitting in the room or whatever. It's a slow day and people don't want to pay $300 for the Lakers spots. So what Filthbomb will do, they will say, okay, what we'll do is if we pull a Laker card, we're going to sell the Lakers 10 different ways. Okay, 0 through 9. So we're going to sell 10 spots at $30 each. And if we pull the Kobe Bryant number 2 and you have the corresponding number 2, you get the card. But if you bought the 3rd spot in the break, you don't get the Kobe. So you're not only fractionalizing the team, but if you pull a Lakers card, you now have to pull the right serial number to win said card. So you could have a break that has 5 cards and you could have 150 motherfuckers in that break. And 4 or 5 people are going to win something, and 145 people are literally going to have an empty shipping label and an empty bubble mailer sent to them. Because I think Fanatics and whatnot make you actually send the product or send them something. A lot of these breakers probably send an empty bubble mailer to you. First of all, I don't know if it's legal in all 50 states and in Joe Biden's America to take something that's already gambling and then you almost like double down on the gambling. Then you like 10x the gamble just to fill the break, just to make it a more affordable gamble so that these sickos buy into this stuff. But that is a way that they sell spots quite often. I heard that they serial number the break and you buy 0 through 9. And if you hit number 2 and you had the Lakers number 2, you get the Kobe. If you had Lakers number 3, you don't get the Kobe. So I don't know if this is the way that we 10x this hobby. I don't know if this is a way that we bring new entrants in this hobby. Could you imagine talking to a new entrant in this hobby and say, yeah, go download Fanatics Live, go to Filthbomb Breaks, and then make sure you get into the serial numbered Kobe break and hope that they pull the number 2 and you have the number 2. Could you imagine trying to tell this to somebody? So it's only the sickos and the weirdos and the degenerates who are doing these things and probably defending these breakers by and large. Now, I was shown a break, and there's the screenshot of it is in this graphic, where there are times that it's been alleged that Filthbomb will rerun items or rerun things if they think the price sold too low. And they'll feign that, oh, there was a technical glitch or blah, blah, blah. And this happened. They had Spencer Jones, who apparently is a baseball player. He was live in studio. He signed a game used bat. They ran it. Somebody won it for $500, which I think is a lot. Paid for it. Mentioned in the chat numerous times how he won and paid for it. And then Filthbomb, though, wanted to rerun it. And then it ended up going for $900 just minutes later. And apparently this is something that they will do. If something sells for too low, they'll be like, oh, wait, it didn't show up on the app. Or, oh, wait, we got to run it again. To try to get more money for their breaks. So we got an arrogant group of guys out of New York City who sell things in a very questionable, almost street carnival kind of way that would almost make the MGM blush the way you guys make these guys gamble their money. Like the MGM and Caesar would be like, man, I wish we could get these suckers to do this, man.
Breaks coming to the MGM Grand.
Right. The unregulated wild west of the sports card world. You dorks are buying like serial numbered spots into a break so that you have to hit 2 of 10 to win the card.
And it's like, it's like some of these guys are like, well, it makes it more affordable. It's like, bro, get a job. Like if you can't afford a break, get a fucking job. And again, we're
into a full break or a full break.
It's a picture of a man. It's a fucking picture of a man. It's not food. Okay. I can understand if we're out there and Ryan, food's not affordable, or electricity, right? If electricity is so unaffordable out there, yeah, there's got to be a way we make it cheaper and more affordable, right? Okay. Or if food inflation, who's the president? Joe Biden makes inflation so bad that food inflation gets so much that the average person just can't afford it. Well, yeah, we got to figure out a way to make food cheaper somehow, some way. Okay. We're talking about a fucking picture of a man. If you can't afford a picture of a man, go back to school, get online instead of hanging out in chat rooms and fucking watching sports card radio. You should be on all the free courses that Harvard gives, or you should be learning all this AI bullshit that's going on. Like, actually get some skills, make some money. Well, like fucking
look. I think that look, you're blaming the customer. I think there's responsibility as a seller, as quote the biggest guy, as quote a leader of this industry or whatever you want to call yourself, to sell stuff in a responsible way. Anybody could get on here and run an online casino and run carnival games.
Fanatics should not be Fanatics should have a standardized way to sell these breaks. And
I think people should have their own fucking standards and their own morals. Fuck again, Fanatics telling they need their daddy to tell them what to do.
Their product. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Need their daddy, Michael Rubin, to tell them what to do.
Yes, they do. Because I don't think any of these guys really actually understand how to run a business. They know how to run an online casino. That once Fanatics goes public and people start digging in and they're like, oh shit, 30% of this company's revenues comes from these online casinos. Like, this company's going to be fucked. So they've got to figure this shit out. And they've got to get these breakers to do this thing in the right way. Otherwise, their business is fucked. And it's not Filthbomb Breaks that is going to get sued. They're going to be like, oh, this Michael Rubin guy with all these billions of dollars, we'll sue him.
Or it'll be regulated.
Or, some regulation will come down. And you don't want that. You want Fanatics to tell you. You want Fanatics to be your daddy. You do not want fucking some quote regulator to be your daddy. Because then it's going to be like, look at the rake that these sports books take. You go place a sports book somewhere. It's like, oh, yay, sports betting's legal in fucking Indiana. It's like, oh, yeah, go look at the fucking rake that they take. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's fucking great. You could be a fucking 60% winner in sports bets and not make any money because they take so much juice. So Fanatics has got to step up. Fanatics has got to be the adult in the room. Do I think somebody at Filthbomb Breaks is going to be an adult? No. Do I think anybody that buys from Filthbomb Breaks is going to be an adult? Absolutely not. These guys are just going to continue to manipulate the system however they possibly can to sell these pictures of men. Now, I think breaks can be done in a fun and enjoyable way. And I think there will be eventually breaks, or there are breaks that are quote unquote affordable. But in general, if we've got to slice and dice these breaks in all these complicated and complex ways where the average person just really doesn't understand what's going on, we've gone way too far down the river here in terms of complexity from a business standpoint. Need to reel it back in and make it far more simple and approachable for the average person.
Or somebody's going to reel it back in for them.
Or somebody's going to reel it back in.
Brandon, and some of you guys in the chat, you're more than welcome to call in. Get your mommy to allow you to call in. You go down the street and use the payphone, get a couple quarters. Come on in. Here's another guy.
CB hotline, cbhobby.com.
Call the cbhobbyhotline.com. Here's another guy. Cocky New York guys versus two guys streaming in their mom's basement. I wish I lived in my mom's basement, buddy. Come on. Maybe I'd have room for some of these cards that I bought the other day.
Very few houses in California have basements, to just let you guys know.
So Rob, yeah, exactly. You can tell you live in the Midwest if you're talking about a fucking basement.
Talking about basements. We don't have hurricanes and tornadoes out here. We don't have basements.
Good Lord. What the fuck are you talking about a basement, brother? But you guys can call in. Show us your spread. Where do you live? What kind of house do you have? What does your wife think about your cards? You can have the floor in front of however many people and talk about this and defend your buddies over at Filthbomb. But I thought this was a very, very interesting kind of situation. Again, these guys claim to be the biggest. They kind of walk around swinging their dicks at these industry conferences. And we've seen this before from other breakers, other people. It'll happen at the National. There's going to be dozens of tables with people in polo shirts, and you ain't never going to heard about these motherfuckers. And you're probably never going to heard about them again. So how will Filthbomb handle these particular situations? You know, we got the situation with the $20,000 refund. I think they're going to have to at the end of the day, probably cough that up. one way or the other, either from a credit card chargeback or from their daddy, Michael Rubin, calling them and say, hey, can we get the sports card radio guys to stop talking about this? Can you send the money? Now, this other situation with EP and these breaks being rigged, hey, if you buy into this stuff, you should be thinking about this a lot more closely about how these breaks are run. They could be rigged a lot of different ways. We often, people in this hobby talk about breaks being rigged because you know what is inside. Absolutely not. A lot of these teams and a lot of these products can be funneled to certain people. They'll unload the junk inventory on you, and they'll unload it in such a disrespectful manner. Like I said, MGM and Caesars are watching this right now and being like, God damn, if we could just be in the unregulated gambling market like fucking sports cards. I don't want to blame people who buy into this. I don't want to question their intelligence. People can spend money how they want. I think there's a responsibility on Filthbomb, on individual breakers, and just having some level of integrity for yourself in the way you sell things, in the way you treat other people in this industry. You could treat your wife however the fuck you want, but can we treat our customers and this hobby with some level of respect and not turn this into carnival games outside the fucking MGM? So I don't know where to take this. Again, Filthbomb literally was blowing up my phone today. Probably called me 2 or 3 different times. He was furious that he was in the thumbnail. He wanted me to have another I talked to him for about an hour yesterday. Wanted to have another phone conversation. I was like, look, brother, here's what I thought. I gave him my thoughts on the situation. I was like, if you want to call in, you are more than welcome to call in and talk about anything you want to talk about. I'm guessing he has not called in. I have not seen him down in our queue here.
I have not.
Now we have, some of the people we have some people basically probably in here on their burner accounts. You've already trashed a hobby that also sponsors your show. Buddy, we've been around a long time. We've been making fun of Luka Doncic when he was a rookie and these Prism cards were $10 each. So we've been around a long time. I get that you just came into the hobby when Jeff Wilson told you to, when Filthbomb was sounding the alarm and pulling these big mega hits for you. But we've been around a long time. We'll be around a long time after your mommy makes you do your chores and makes you go clean up your room.
It's just a hobby too. The hobby is not Jesus. The hobby is not your mom. The hobby is not your firstborn son. The hobby is not your wife. It's a hobby. It's a hobby. It's okay to criticize things. I watched golf today. I could criticize the game of golf. I could criticize the PGA Tour. I could criticize some of the rules of the game. I could criticize some of the things that have gone on in the game of golf. It's a fucking game of golf. It's a hobby. It's pictures of men. If the hobby and breaking with Filthbomb Breaks is the biggest thing in your life, and you can't say anything bad about it, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. You know what I mean? I can tell some of you guys are still just getting outside of the womb and still trying to figure things out. The honest to God truth is we come on here and this is a small part of our day. Ryan did have to spend a couple hours of his day yesterday talking to these guys, which I would never do. But it is what it is.
I'm going to stay out of the drama from now on. Yeah, it took up way too much of my time. I'm having too much fun scanning these cards. I'm talking to a girl right now. So we can do some live investigations on the channel, but on the live streams, but no chance I'm getting involved in something like this again.
Sure, but I think in general, just the whole business aspect of the hobby is interesting to us, and this is a part of the business, and this is a way trading cards are being transacted, and that, quite frankly, I didn't know who I don't know who Dylan Cruz is. Okay, I don't know who
he's big time.
Okay, I couldn't tell you who the #1 draft pick of the NBA was. I don't follow, like. You know what I mean? I can tell you what NVIDIA's gross margins were last quarter, but I can't tell you who these guys are. And there's not a lot of people in the world that are making lots of money that know a lot about 19-year-old baseball players. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money that understand NVIDIA, backwards and sideways, and understands all their suppliers and this, that, and the other.
This is their NVIDIA. Here's an orange refractor of Dylan Cruz that sold for $10,300.
I mean, you could have made that. You could have made that in 2 weeks investing in NVIDIA. So it's like, you know what I mean?
But this
So
is, this is who they're
not
after.
much.
This is who
And
they're
that's
after.
fine. And that's totally fine if this is what you want to spend your money on.
Look,
That's
guys
no
like Filthbomb should treasure the fact that there are people willing to spend $20,000 upwards of $3 million with them, because this could go away, certainly in a heartbeat. Certainly for them. We could name who was the biggest breaker in 2011 and 2012 and 2013, and it seemingly changed. At one point, I thought Leighton Sports Cards was the biggest. I haven't heard about him in quite a while. I guess
Backyard was the biggest. I thought
Blez was the biggest.
Oh, Blez, yeah. I thought Platinum was big for a while, right?
Oh, Platinum was supposed to be the biggest.
Yeah, Platinum was big.
I just wish they would treat people who spend money with them a little better, so that a guy who spent $20,000 with them doesn't have to run to Instagram, not even to call them out. He didn't even, if he wanted to call them out, he could have called Sports Card Radio. He went to Instagram confused, being like, what should I do? Because you have these guys over at Filthbomb and others willing to Jimmy Jack people around in this industry because they feel entitled. And in some cases, they can get away with it. So we will see. Again, the update from this is actually that the president of Fanatics Live, not Michael Rubin, the president of the app, Fanatics Live app, is aware of the situation. He's reached out to the customer, presumably has reached out to Filthbomb, and wants to work toward a resolution, because these guys don't want Sports Card Radio talking about this. They'd rather you guys be buying into serialed breaks before the regulators come looking at this industry, which I for many years thought never would happen. And now some of this money and some of the way this stuff is sold just beg, not even at the federal level, but even just the state regulating this stuff or trying to get their hand in the cookie jar in some kind of way. This is just the absolute wild, wild west. The way this stuff is sold.
Yeah. And I think that's why we see a rotation of who's the biggest breaker, because it's really like who wants to push the envelope the most. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. First of all, it's who wants to basically be, never get any sleep, never turn off the stream, and just work, grind. And there's nothing wrong with working and grinding. That's what we've heard about Backyard. That's what we've heard about Platinum in the past. That's what we've heard about these guys, is that, you just put in the 14, 15-hour days. But the truth is that applies to almost anything. You put in a 14-hour day at In-N-Out Burger, and you're probably going to work your way up to management level over there pretty soon. Same thing with Walmart and some of these other places. If you grind and you show a work ethic, you should see success, whether you're flipping burgers or you're, flipping pictures of men over out of packs. So I just think that, but now we're starting to see the lines starting to be blurred a little bit. And we do want to see this hobby grow. I don't think there's anybody that understands logic fairly well that thinks serialized breaks are the future of the hobby. That serializing breaks are the way to make breaks, quote, more affordable and, quote, more approachable to people. That we should be serializing breaks, Ryan, in order to make them more affordable and to get more people into this hobby. That I buy a Kobe Bryant spot, I hit a Kobe Bryant spot, but I don't get it because my serial number spot was not the right one.
You had 3, not 2.
Yeah, that seems...
I think people, when they say they want to grow the hobby, they want to grow their bank account from the hobby. They don't want to grow the hobby. So they'll do anything possible to extract money from people in these ways that, look, we'll see how long it lasts. We've actually seen a decline in price in a lot of these cards and interest in cards over the last a couple years. It's a slow trickle. It isn't a crash like the 1990s. It isn't a crash like the stock market in 2008. But you're seeing a slow trickle of interest diminish from the hobby. So we shall see what happens with Filthbomb. If anything else comes of this, if we find out any more information about them, if we find out any more information about the whale EP, not only is he a whale, but he spends time in the chat. That's what I found. I mean, man, this guy, I mean, his parents must have gave him the money, because I know of whales who buy into breaks, but they aren't sitting in there in the chat just juicing everybody up. That's why when some of these rumors about that, hey, maybe this guy's involved in some kind of way, certainly wouldn't surprise me. Nothing would surprise me. And I guess this is the one time where I will share my personal opinion on this. Look, of all the people that I talked to yesterday, the least impressive person that I talked to is Steven from Filthbomb. So people can take that however they want. Wouldn't shock me if these guys aren't the biggest breakers when we're talking about this pretty soon. But should we move on from Filthbomb? We got another fun story to talk about. Some big shots in the sports car world. We got 3 minutes left on these auctions. I'm trying to win. I don't know if you heard me. I'm trying to win this Larry O'Brien trophy for our boy Luka Doncic, since he's not going to win one. And we saw the Lakers win 3, and that was after they won 5 in the 80s. If I need to remind anybody, this Derek Jeter lot has exploded. $900 for 300 cards. I'm gonna hard pass on that. $3 each. My God, what's in here?
Yeah, it seems a little.
What the hell is in here?
If there's
is there
not
an
an
SP?
I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense, in my opinion.
It's 92 to 97.
Not hating on Jeter. I'm just saying that occasionally happens with Jordan, where you just see a lot and it's just like, whoa, $3 a card, and it's just pops. Just somebody wants it.
We got our boy Magic Johnson and James Worthy on a 1-of-1 card. Pair of Laker legends. Luka Doncic. This was a $2,000 card last week. It is now sitting at $1,300. I said last week.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Yeah. Here you go. Want to look?
I mean, thing is like, if you want to do this, like, to me, it's like the stock market would be way more fun. Even crypto. Like, I mean, crypto moves around super fast too. Like,
$2,300 last week. You can see golden $2,300 last week.
Wow. Now it's 13.
So you can see why when we talk about Luka Doncic that it gets under people's skin, because when they
lost money too,
$1,000 in value,
that hurts.
That really hurts. And a lot of times these auctions that we show up here, they kind of get a little extra pop. So for this one to just be sitting here with a minute left at $1,300, it's going to lose it might lose $1,000 in a week.
Whoa.
Here's another one that sold for $1,700. This was in April.
Wow. That's brutal.
So that's brutal for all the Luka Doncic fans out there. Looks like one ended last night on eBay for $1,375.
13. That over the summer, and we were talking about this over the summer, that'll probably be under 1,000. And he's going to go to the Olympics. I'm pretty sure. Was he Slovenia or something? I'm assuming they'll be in the Olympics. I don't know, but he's going to go and blow his wad in the Olympics, guys. And he's going to come back next year after playing a huge, long season, the longest season possible. And he's going to go to the Olympics and he's going to blow his wad. And he's probably going to get hurt next year. So, I mean, I'd be selling as fast as I possibly can.
Now you're going to have this entire industry be like, he's fine. He played great. It's his teammates' fault. Guys, he's only 25. He's going to be back next year, but somehow Giannis is going to win one. The Knicks will win one. Kevin Durant will team up with somebody to win one. LeBron will win another one. Steph will win another one. Wembanyama's supposed to win 6 or 7, but somehow Luka's going to come back next year, guys, and win another one. Get back there. This is it.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah,
this was his moment. This was his moment, and it's over. And now it's going to be reflected in his card prices.
We got a huge long email about Filthbomb.
Oh Lord,
it's too long for me to summarize here, but we could have further. Updates on Mr. Filthbomb maybe next week. Maybe we have to do it a little website spot too, just to pop that into the SEO universe as well.
Maybe
looks like we have a call in. This call in is brought to you by cbhobby.com.
Use code Will Greer.
That's right. Look at that. We'll send you some of the.
I have to ask. Do you think Wemby is overhyped? Because I remember being in singles shows and his base Prism rookies were going for like PSA 10s were going for like $300, which I think is fucking absurd.
That seems
cheap. You're asking if his cards are overpriced, not if he is overhyped.
Well, I mean, if he's overhyped, does he live up to the hype? Like, I feel like his team didn't do too much.
Well, he's 19 years old. What did Luka Doncic do when he was 19? You know, the only person who did something when they were 19 was Magic Johnson. I think he won a college championship against Larry Bird, and then his rookie year he won an NBA championship. I know all the Luka Doncic fans have forgotten about that. Now, as far as Wembanyama, his cards are probably, yes, they're overpriced right now because it's going to take him another couple years before things come together. San Antonio's a mess. They have no good players, but
look at his defensive stats though. He has promise.
Right. There's certainly promise. I would certainly bet on him to win more championships than Luka Doncic. That's for sure. Now, at what point will his cards? There will be a point when his cards are underpriced, I believe.
No,
it's probably not right now.
I think that everything's gonna come down. But being that the new golden season came out, I feel like everything's gonna be fucking 300%. Like, it's so, I guess, good.
Sure.
Did you watch the show?
I'm on episode 2. So far, it's okay. I mean, it's just so like fucking staged. Like, this guy walks in with like fucking 10 million cash, like fucking like big huncho over here, and I'm just like, bro, you're like 5'2", like like what the fuck? Like, sit down, bro.
Sure. So to pick up on the Wembanyama thing, I think what we find in basketball card, and this applies not just to basketball cards, but it applies to almost everything. There's kind of a hype cycle. When a video game comes out, it's you rush to GameStop or you rush to download it, and then you play it for like 2 hours, and then there's kind of the wipeout. There's a bell curve that I think has some scientific behind it. But I think in basketball cards or in trading cards specifically, we have a phenomenon where these sets come out, these cards get released. A lot of them then get shipped to PSA. So there's this delay between the cards getting released. Yeah. So they get released, they get pulled, they get sent to PSA, and then they start to trickle back. And so it kind of artificially, I think, lowers the supply of available cards in the market. And just like Luka and many Zion and Ja and many other players that we can look at, there's an initial hype wave, and then obviously that wears off, and that would wear off even if Wembanyama was in the finals right now. I think, I mean, his cards wouldn't be going necessarily down, but I don't think we would continue to see kind of this hockey stick move.
Like, it was like kind of CJ Stroud, or is he up still?
I think, yeah, without looking at CJ Stroud, we'll probably pull it up here. But from my understanding is his cards have not necessarily softened. Softened might be the word. And wow, maybe more than softened. I mean, you're seeing
Down
certainly over the last.
13%
Yeah,
last
there was
3
that
months.
playoff run, and everybody thought he was the next Tom Brady, and
Yeah, I think there's just a segment of the hobby too that just wants the new stuff. And I see this, you see this with everything. I see it in the Rolex watch market. Rolex releases a watch, the first 4 or 5 copies make it to market and they sell for 3 or 4 times retail because there's
yeah,
that guy out there that just has to buy the first one that's out. And I think there's a lot of people like that in the hobby. CJ Stroud's the guy. I got to have his cards, whether it's just a personal thing, whether they want to show it on Instagram or whether it's for whatever reason out there. That's just the part of the hobby that they like. But I do think after the washout phase kind of hits, there can be opportunities out there. CJ Stroud certainly could have a second or third year that looks like Joe Burrow, where you go
yeah,
to a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's possible. That is certainly possible. Same thing with Wembanyama. I think what separates Wembanyama from certainly Luka Doncic, but other players, is this guy is a defensive force in the middle. You're going to be able to put him in the middle of the key and
he's like
basically,
a cylinder fucking bullier.
yeah. And imagine if he was on Dallas and he didn't shoot the ball, Dallas, the series in Dallas would be a lot different because the people that are blowing by Luka Doncic would then have to meet Wembanyama at the rim. And that certainly would not go as well as it certainly has for the Celtics.
Yeah.
And so this guy is going to be a rim enforcer. He obviously gobbles up rebounds, but in particular, he changes shots, high percentage shots at the rim. And as we're seeing, as you get later into the playoffs, the 3-point basket is a very big thing. But in my opinion, the play at the rim for the Celtics is what's separating them. They're blowing by Luka and getting to the paint and then either scoring at the rim or they're able to kick out, rotate, and get an open 3. With a guy like Wembanyama, you can blow by your worst defender and it's nobody has to come and double. You don't have to come pack the paint. You can stay out on the 3-point shooters. And now it's 1-on-1 against a shot blocker. And Wembanyama is going to come out on top, at least from a percentage point. So I think he's got a bright future in the game, but his cards are going to, as they flood the market, might be a poor term, but as more and more supply hits the market, he's just not the new guy anymore. You know, we're going to move on to Caleb Williams here in 3 months, or whatever quarterback is hot in the NFL, or whatever quarterback these people tell you to buy. Same thing in basketball, whoever the number 1 pick is. I mean, people were on Caitlin Clark for a couple of weeks. Now that seems like it's kind of faded. There's just a segment of the hobby that is always trying to chase kind of the hot new item. And Wembanyama was certainly it for several months last year. It's quieted down. I think at some point he probably is a buy. I don't know if it's this coming year because I don't think the Spurs are going to do any much better than they did this past season. But this is a player, if he's able to stay healthy, it's obviously the caveat we give to most players. If he's able to stay healthy, he changes the game so much defensively, especially in today's NBA where it's a lot of drive and kick. When you're driving and you have a shot blocker at the rim, it certainly, and Denver, I think that's one of the reasons why they've had a lot of success. They have some tall guys at the rim that can defend the paint. Rudy Gobert for Minnesota, I think that's one of the reasons why they went so far this year. They had a shot blocker in the middle of the lane, and it's actually tough to play in the NBA against a shot blocker. And so I think
It's
they'll
one
have
extra
success.
thing you have to focus on, man.
Exactly. And so I like his cards, not necessarily at this level, but I like a lot of players when the hype washes out. If you think they're going to be, I mean, look, the hype washed out on LeBron, the hype washed out on Kobe, the hype. I don't know if the hype ever washed out on Jordan, but certainly Kobe cards were in the shitter when he raped the girl and everybody thought he didn't pass
What
enough.
the fuck?
You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, sure. But there was a lot of, I mean, we've seen it time and time again with almost every player out there is they fall on hard times. And that is obviously a good time to accumulate if you think they've got a future. And I think
I think
Wembanyama's
some
got a future.
people sort of did that with Wander.
Sure.
I wouldn't be
Sure.
surprised if some people bought his shit thinking it was a hoax or something.
And that's conceivably possible, but his situation is so I think he just has damaged his brand so much that even if he were to come back and play relatively well, there's just going to be a large segment of the hobby that is just
Like,
going to
imagine being
ignore.
that guy right now. The
Yeah, I
three
mean,
of
pain,
five. Oh,
pain,
That one stings.
that stings a little bit. Probably not in the hobby anymore.
no. I was thinking of another thing. Kurt's Card Care. What's the word on him? He like is in jail. He
He's in
blocked me
jail.
on he blocked me on Instagram because I started tagging PSA on all his things.
Yeah, so I think he's kind of gone slightly more under the radar more recently because he's realized the threat that it could potentially look on his business, but also his customers as well. And so he's starting to operate more in the dark corners of the internet, and that is appropriate. That is appropriate. There's a lot of things that go on in the dark corners of the internet, and that's where it should be done. But if you're doing something like Kurt's Card Care, you shouldn't be out there openly bragging about it. And that's what he was doing, and that's what his customers were doing in the offices of PSA, no less.
They
And
showed
obviously,
it in the Wemby 1-of-1 finite. They were cleaning the card with the PSA guy standing right there.
it's ridiculous, and it wouldn't surprise me if more news comes down about this type of thing. But right now, I don't think PSA has any solution to it. And so if you want to clean, rub, wax, soak your cards, by all means. The grading company that is seen as the leader, I don't think has any method to detect it, at least at the current time.
Yeah, I don't think unless later 10 years down the line when
True.
the print is just acid like freaking done.
Sure. It's possible.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
I will see you guys in New York. I'm gonna be in New York. I'm in New Jersey, so.
Oh, look at that. Okay, we'll be there August, sometime in August. We'll be there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're invited to the Pendry. That's where we're staying. So
No, yeah,
come on
I
up.
already planned on it.
Okay.
I wonder if is Christine coming?
Well, maybe. We haven't heard from. Yeah, that's a good question.
Where are those flip flops?
Okay.
Well, flip flops are coming. The flip flops are coming, being shipped back to me. So hopefully next week I have them.
You guys want to see my cat?
Yes, let's see your cat. And we kind of left you off the hook from a relationship perspective, but we'll with the cat view, we'll let it slide.
I'm just waiting for the chat to go crazy.
Some of them have, but yeah, it should be it's like a badge of honor rather than a demoralization.
No, yeah, it makes me laugh so much.
That's good. Exactly. Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you guys. See ya.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, you. Sir.
Wait, are you flying me out to New York?
Oh, so good question. Very good question. So I have been released from my job, but I have not actually been terminated yet. So I do not know my the package that I am going to receive. Now, according to my contract, and I think this is one of the reasons why they are delaying it, is according to my contract, they've already breached the contract that they signed with me. So they have to be very careful going forward. Otherwise, I do have an attorney that's ready to go because we are talking about a sum that is nearing the 7-figure mark that we could potentially sue for. So they have to walk very carefully. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's literally been 7 days since I've heard from them. since they basically let me go, but I've been collecting a salary and earning PTO. So life has been very good over here at Sports Card Radio, to be honest with you, as I continue to be paid as an employee, but don't have any formal duties as of right now. So
like a fired
absolutely.
coach, like Darvin Ham
Exactly.
over there and shit.
Right. And I started I have an investor and a media company that is basically starting and funding a new business that we're going to start. And that is starting sometime relatively soon. And so like I am going to be one of these coaches that basically gets fired, probably still receives compensation for a while, but is then coaching somewhere else. And so it's going to be an amazing,
like
so if that happens, Tim, to answer your fucking question, if that happens, then yes, I will. And honestly, I have points. I'm going to see, I have a credit card where I use the credit card and I get airline miles. And I think I have enough to fly you out to New York City. I just have to make sure that I can buy it for you and it doesn't have to be my name on the ticket. And so let me just double check on that, because I'm almost certain I have enough miles to fly you out to New York City on a card that I'm not going to use. Like, I don't think I'm going to use the miles anyways. So I might as well use them to bring the producer out.
Look, this is interesting. I mean, Wembanyama's Silver Prism, and look, I know the population on this, when it's all said and done, is going to be more than Luka's, but they're both astronomical. Luka's went for 1,300. Wembanyama's at 956. What card do I think is going to be worth more than in 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, however long Gary Vee and Jeff Wilson told you to hold these things? I think it's going to be Wembanyama's. I don't care what the print run is. I don't care if it's double the Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
At some point, Wembanyama will overtake Luka Doncic in popularity, probably by quite a bit, probably by a massive amount. People will be looking back at their takes on Luka Doncic and be like, oh yeah, he never really kind of got around to it. And then his career is probably going to be cut short because he's fat, he's out of shape, and he doesn't look like his smoking hot little mom piece over here taking care of herself. So I think, Luka's Doncic, people say he's 25. I think his career, his shelf life could be really, really short. I mean, we've seen LeBron play into his 40s. Does anybody believe Luka Doncic is going to be one of the best players in the league?
No.
This boy's going to be sitting in Slovenia, drinking beer and smoking shisha, as he should. So we'll see. I think it's interesting. Are Wembanyama cards overpriced? Absolutely. Will this card come down in price over the next year, 2 years, possibly 3 years or more? Abso-fucking-lutely. But at some point, his cards will be a snap buy. I don't know when that is. Smarter people in this industry will be able to tell you. You could probably look at similar charts of some of the people they've obsessed over in the last few years to tell you that. But we shall see what happens there. But I'm actually kind of surprised that Luka Doncic's Silver Prism.
I'm not surprised, because so many people in this industry told people to buy Luka and convinced people that he was generational talent.
To me, this is not even close in terms of the talent and the potential.
No. But I'm talking about, there's a lot of people in this hobby that just collect what they are told. Because truth be told, almost nobody knows who Dylan Cruz is.
Correct.
Nobody knows who Dylan Cruz is. Even if they're, I know who he is. He's the number 7 prospect in Baseball America. You don't know who he is. You don't know who he is.
Unless he was in full uniform, you wouldn't recognize him walking down the street.
No, you don't know. You don't know jack shit about him. You know what somebody told you about him. Somebody else is telling you that Dylan Cruz is good. The thing about Luka Doncic is that what we did here at Sports Card Radio is, instead of listening to what people said about him, I have NBA League Pass. I've had NBA League Pass for probably like 15 years. I've had NBA League Pass. I remember buying NBA League Pass when Michael Jordan was in the league. I watched Michael Jordan in his prime. I watched Kobe Bryant when he was a rookie, let alone in his prime. Shaq in his prime. Magic Johnson. I remember watching Magic Johnson games live on TV. I've seen great players play in the NBA. And so when everybody was like, Luka Doncic is a generational talent, guess what I did? I turned on the TV and I saw, and this was when he was a rookie. We shouldn't bring up the tapes of the podcast because then I'll probably never get a job in my life because the stuff we were saying back then would make even the most politically correct person blush at this point. But I turned on the TV and I saw players just blowing by this guy. And then I saw that he would hit a step back three, but then he would miss two after that. And he wasn't even fat at that point. And then a year or two later, he started getting fat. And I was like, this is the future of the NBA. People were like, he's the face of the NBA. And I would tell people, well, if he's the face of the NBA is probably going to become like the 8th most important sport in the world. If he is going to become the, quote, face of the NBA.
Chat says Luka's like T-Mac and Jeff Hornacek. Great players,
Maybe.
but they didn't do a lot overall.
Yeah, Vince Carter. I go through the basketball cards all the time. I'm like, oh, I remember Jamal Mashburn. I remember, George Lynch. I remember, it's like everybody, when they were a rookie or their third, fourth year was a good player. And then time, like I got a Nick Van Exel, little starting lineup figure over here. You know what I mean? Like everybody was excited about the player. He's good.
Player. He's not great.
He's not $1,300 for a PSA 10. That is not a rare
he's
card.
Good. Wembanyama could be great. They could be talking about Wembanyama with the likes of, everybody with some of the greats of all time.
Maybe
at the end of the day, Luka Doncic, again, he's going to be a good player, a Hall of Fame player, a player that gets his jersey retired, but probably somebody who never wins a championship unless it's on the back half of his career being the third or fourth fiddle on a team. We've seen it play out. He can't play defense. He gets smoked by the Celtics. Brian Windhorst, of a longtime NBA reporter, was one of the few people to call him out. It took another fat white guy to call out Luka.
Finally.
All the black reporters don't want to say anything about it because of race. Or maybe they're punch drunk off the Luka Doncic hype.
Ferris says Luka is looking more like Bryant Big Country Reeves.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, wow.
Ooh, I think he looks more like James Harden. To me, he reminds me so much of James Harden that he has an offensive game. He's actually
a good player,
a very above average player offensively, but does nothing for the team other than that. Nothing.
Lotus said Luka's like Melo or Harden. Pudgy.
Melo or Harden. I would agree. Melo or Harden.
Elite offensively, doesn't play defense.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And that's a dime a dozen player. When you look back in time, that's not a player that you're excited about collecting wise. It's just not. It's just not.
Very few people end up in that, round. I mean, this card was underpriced tonight, and we might have actually won it because it has James Worthy on it. Who was a great player. If it only had Magic Johnson and it was a 1-of-1 from 2007, 08 Upper Deck Black, probably would have sold for more money. Takes a lot to be an all-time
take that to Burbank, baby.
Legend. Take it to Burbank. Yeah, I'll take it to Burbank.
Yeah, take that to Burbank. You might. I don't know. Paid $11.50.
It's a 1-of-1.
15 on it. Put 15 on it.
Everybody will know the comp. They can look it up and know the comp.
Robert Horry had a much better career than Luka.
I mean, Robert can. When I'm having a bad day, I bring up the shot that he hit against the Kings, and all of a sudden I'm having a good day. So.
We still had one more story.
Oh my God!
To talk about.
More drama.
We have more drama.
Hold on. Let me check my calendar and see if I have any meetings tomorrow. Oh, never mind. I'm just.
Oh, never mind.
Maybe a meeting with HR will come through, but other than that, I don't have anything to do.
We have a prominent card shop that I think is next to the New England Patriots Stadium. I think somehow Robert Kraft right here in the middle is a part of this fucking thing. And you kind of get these white guys or whatever.
Who are the guys in
fucking
the mask? Hold on. Who are the guys in the mask in the background? You see the guys with the mask on?
Security, probably for Robert Kraft, probably Robert Kraft's bodyguards.
I see. Okay.
That's probably who they are.
All right.
Anyways, one of the owners of this shop or one of the workers of the shop is connected. When I was doing some research, I saw that he took a picture with our boy Mark's Cards a couple years ago. Shout out to my man, Mike, Mark's Cards. Great to see you, my dude. Thanks for all the hard work. Keep crushing it. So that was the context that I got when I was researching this email we got. And it's a fairly lengthy email, but it's kind of juicy, so I'll read it. Anyway, somebody wanted to get into a breakdown of this hobby shop, the Card Vault, and some of their business practices and the many shady things that they have done. Apparently, the owner is a douchebag and throws around daddy or uncle's money. I think the uncle supposedly is Billy Costa, some kind of radio personality in Boston. We live out on the West Coast. We don't even know what the radio is anymore, unless it's sports card radio. So Card Vault has been grading cards through various different card shows and LCSs. So they go to a card show or they go to an LCS set up and they say, hey, come bring us your cards and we'll basically a group submitter. They show up to various hobby shops and they take grading submissions. I've witnessed an older gentleman and his grandson submit a Tom Brady rookie that the grandfather had for years. He submitted the card to Card Vault. The Card Vault employee by the name of Keith Walters, and he's the guy standing next to our boy Mark's Cards here. Keith Walters, who goes by 603 Trading Cards on Instagram, stated that the card looked good and would grade well. Weeks passed, and Keith Walters stated that the card had been graded by PSA, but it came back altered. But he did not give that news directly to the customer. Instead, he pounded off to the LCS where he was taking the grading submissions. Case hit collectibles. Well, the hobby shop was not happy about this situation due to the shadiness, and they stopped doing business with Card Vault. The card apparently was not altered, and the Card Vault was basically caught switching out submissions with altered cards and keeping the originals. Apparently, months later, Keith Walters magically had a case full of Tom Brady rookies with high grades. They've also done this with a Gretzky rookie, from what I can confirm, says the emailer. The real question is, how many times has this been done? Card Vault has become notorious for this conspiracy. Now, if you pay a little extra money with Keith Walters, he will get you the good grades. If not, he will give you the shitty grades. Now, I do want to mention that I didn't just come running to Instagram or running to Twitter or running to YouTube to talk about this story. I did get this email. I reached out to 603 Trading Cards. I sent him an email. He did not respond. I reached out to this Case Hit Collectibles that was mentioned in here to try to get confirmation of this story. They did not respond. So these people did have an opportunity over the last couple days to at least address these allegations, and they have not responded. But what do you think about in general of these group submitters? And here's two standing right side by side, 603 and Mark's Cards. Do you think it's possible for group submitters to take a card like a Tom Brady rookie card and maybe they look at that card and say, hey, that looks pretty good. I'm going to take that one over here and maybe replace it with another one they have to try to fool the customer? Do you think that's something that has ever happened?
Oh, yeah. I think it's definitely happened. There was that whole situation with the dip guy. There was this whole drama about the Freedom Cardboard dip guy. I can't remember. What's his name?
Chris Gilmore.
His name. Okay, yeah. So like and I don't remember the story off the top of my head, but like he had kind of a group submission thing going, and then he was accused of basically doing just this. And I think they actually had actual proof of it actually happening. He kept denying it and denying it and denying it. But yeah, I just personally don't believe. I mean, if you guys think the guys that show up in that simp for these guys in the chat, I mean, if you logging into Sports Car Radio to simp for Filthbomb Breaks and what is this called? The Card Vault. I mean, if you have to come and simp for another company for free, then you better believe that these companies are run by a bunch of just crooked douchebags that I simply wouldn't touch. And it is what it is.
Kind of interesting. Another reason to probably not use group submitters, because this type of thing
No.
could happen.
And I don't know why you would at this point. There was at a time there was, oh, well, you got a little bit better rate and whatever. It's like, man, PSA just did a special, right? It was like, I don't know, $18 a card, or maybe it was cheaper than that, $15 a card. I don't really know. But like, why can't you just
I'm sure
send
there
in
were
your own
I'm sure there
cards?
were 8 videos about every time PSA comes out with a special, people run to
Right.
like promote it. It's like,
There
Jesus,
it is,
guys.
$16. I mean, how much cheaper does it need to be? You know what I mean? For it to really make it to where I need to use a group submitter. And look, when we're talking about like Tom Brady's and stuff, it's like, do you really, are you really trying to pass that card on to somebody that you don't really know that well? And you don't, like, I feel much more comfortable with just, dealing with PSA directly on a card like that. And so, yeah, I wouldn't trust these guys. Personally, I also think the group submission business model is broken. I think PSA should do something, just like Fanatics should do some stuff, about what's going on Fanatics Live. PSA should be way more hardcore about who they allow to group sub.
Well, yeah, we saw the complications when Mark's Cards went bankrupt, and they were running their entire group submission business from Instagram DMs. And so PSA literally had to go through his DMs to piece together who was owed what cards. Because Mark's Cards, you remember, was the Southern California hobby shop that took in cards, submitted those cards to PSA, took money from his customers, but never paid PSA, and then walked out the door and declared bankruptcy, never to be seen again. And yet you have countless pictures on Instagram, people talking about, oh, my man, Mark's Cards, and my man. Where are you guys today to talk about the carnage that Mark's Cards left on this hobby? Some people have still not ever received their cards back from PSA because, again, they had to piece together the orders from Instagram DMs. So I wonder if Card Vault is ran in a very similar manner. So I don't know. I do know Luka's mom is looking like a little smoke show. Ooh. This is from her Instagram from yesterday. So our girl's still looking really tight. Too bad her son is only good at basketball. He's not great, and he fouled out with 4 minutes left in the biggest game of his NBA career. Could you imagine if this happened to other players? People just, oh, it's his teammates. It's Kyrie's fault. Could you imagine if LeBron James fouled out with 5 minutes left in the biggest game of his career, the criticism he was faced, or Kobe Bryant, if he fouled out in the biggest game of his fucking career?
Well, I saw there was a game Shaquille O'Neal fouled out, which wasn't too uncommon in those days. In terms of the way the game was played, it was, in my opinion, probably easier for a center to draw, and Shaq would draw some offensive fouls as well, just based on his style of play. But Shaq fouled out in an NBA Finals game or maybe it was a playoff game when Kobe was still really young still. And Kobe won the game for them. He started cooking. And I think that was maybe their first title. And there you go. And then I saw another thing today. Kobe scored, I think it was 23 consecutive points for the Lakers against, I think it was maybe their last title that they won against Boston when they had Pau Gasol. And so that's what a generational player does. Michael Jordan, God damn, we could bring up his stats in the NBA Finals. And it's like, understand that the games were different back then. The tempo of the game and the amount of 3-point
people don't understand that. They look at Luka Doncic's stats and they're comparing him to Michael Jordan's stats.
Right. Yeah.
The games Michael Jordan played in were in the 80s and he would score 30 or 40 points. It's a
Right.
big fucking difference. It's a
I mean,
massive difference in the way the game
Michael
is
Jordan
played.
could roll out of bed right now and probably average 30. You know,
Probably.
probably, honestly, if he could get in shape and make it up and down the court. That would be the only limiting factor, in my opinion, of Michael not averaging 30, is that he would just get tired. He wouldn't be able to play the amount of minutes required to score 30. But I'm pretty sure he could, because he has enough
Boy,
skill.
if Luka Doncic was guarding him, old boy Michael might
Oh
go
my
for
God.
double nickel.
I might
on
have
Luka
30.
Doncic.
I might have 30. I tell you what, the player that I'm most impressed with on the court is what's the guy's is it Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown has a lot of skill, is a very skilled basketball player. If you look how he off the dribble, he is able to then square up and not shoot fadeaways and not be off balance. He does his like little move, and then he gets his feet under him and he shoots like I am very impressed with his skill. From a skill perspective, he is very, 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 very good. And obviously he's very good on the defensive end as well. I was very impressed with Drew Holiday as well. He's somebody that's certainly underrated, not only probably in the card hobby, but also I believe he's won a title with the Milwaukee Bucks before this. And I don't think that's any mystery why he's been able to move on to another team and find success. He's also he's a Hall of Fame player. Drew Holiday, I think we can say with certainty, that's what's crazy about this, is we can say with certainty, I think that Drew Holiday is probably going to make the NBA Hall of Fame. I'm not sure that if Luka Doncic's career ended today, that you would actually put him in the Hall of Fame.
Would you put Luka's mom in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, in terms of moms? Yeah, of course. I mean, come on.
That is all I had for the program. I don't know if you want to go to questions.
We'll drop the chat. I mean, the CB Hobby chat line, 10% off. Will Grier's the code. $18 for a hobby box? Series 2 Jumbo? Or is that a break? That's got to be a break. $18?
Probably a pack.
Oh, it's a pack. Oh, it's a jumbo pack. Okay. Oh, pack's $4.25.
$22 for a value box.
Value box. And then
G League box, $40. That's cheap.
That seems cheap. Okay. I don't ever buy unopened products, so I'm looking at the prices now. Just some of these.
Boy, we found out today there are people spending a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's okay.
On these products.
Yeah, I actually don't, and honestly, like $20,000 is not that. I mean, it's not that much money. You know what I mean? Like I was looking at a Cybertruck that was $100,000. You know what I mean? So, $20,000. It's not insane amount of money. But obviously, it can be. My Doncic is falling off. Yeah. If nobody's gonna call in, we'll go to the phones, or we'll go to the chat. Bought $50 of Flesh and Blood cards. Now we're 25, depending on foil or not. Yeah, Flesh and Blood is crazy. I've made a ton of money off Flesh and Blood. So, in fact, I wish I knew a little bit more about TCG and stuff like this. I mean, a Charizard, Ryan, is a Charizard. Charizard ain't gonna get overweight. Charizard ain't gonna fucking get foul out with 4 minutes left. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like people, sometime in the sports card business, we kind of clown on TCG, but it's like, man, these guys don't foul out. And a Charizard, like when I was kind of young, not that young, Charizard was basically invented. And now my son is collecting Charizard, so it's timeless. Pokemon is timeless. And so I think it's kind of cool. Magic the Gathering, obviously, Flesh and Blood's kind of more or less new, but I think it probably has some longevity in the hobby as well. So, yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more about it. And maybe this time next year, I'm selling more of it because, we go to these card shows and we see dealers, they're strictly dealing Pokemon.
and TCG stuff, and it looks like a great business.
It was like 90% TCG.
90%. Yeah, I mean, I need to figure out how to get more of it. Manny Ramirez with RIP Mr. Jerry West. That was sadder than I would have. I was more sad about that than I expected yesterday. So he obviously, we were not, believe it or not, we're not old enough to have watched Jerry West play. But he was obviously a huge part of the Laker teams during our childhood, and huge part of the success that the team had. But we also saw there were a lot of teams that Jerry West was in charge of that weren't successful. And so we kind of saw him at his best and when he wasn't at his best. And you know, another Laker legend is no longer with us. So, but you know, there's a white basketball player that could actually play.
I would argue that TCG is easier to make money in than sports.
I think that's probably true. I think largely because there's probably slightly less seasonality to it and less fickleness.
Well,
because
there are cards that everyone will always want called staple cards.
Sure.
So, like, and it's a TCG, so people are actually playing the game. So the players will buy up all the like staple playable cards. So there's just money to be made.
Yeah. And there's just not, you know, I mean, like CJ Stroud had a great year, but his cards went down. You know what I mean? Like you had in sports, Wembanyama had a well above average year from a rookie's perspective, and his cards are going down. It's just a tough, in my opinion, just a tough, you know, it's tough. It's these modern fresh cards. Okay. It's very much like trying to buy like IPO stocks. You know, very few of them like just go up and continue to go higher. So TCG I kind of view as more like kind of your blue chip dividend paying buyback stocks. And yeah, I'm gonna look into it more once I get enough Michael Jordans. Highlight of every Thursday, this Cardboard Life. Thank you, sir. Highlight to have you on board. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Lucky Breaks streaming on TVs live in the shop. Thank you very much. We're live on the TV, Ryan.
Goddamn right.
There it is. There it is. Look, you. Still thinking that girl might have been worth a PSA 3 Michael Jordan card.
Let's see. Let's examine this one more time.
That's the mug shot. Imagine the glamour shot.
Right. We don't get to see the whole thing. So
that too. But it looks reasonable from there. Reasonable.
Would you rather have a night with the escort booked on assault charges?
Oh, I know.
Would you rather have a night with Luka Doncic's mother? Now, I don't know if Miss Doncic, she's probably not. She's still fertile. I guess there's an opportunity where you could become Luka's daddy, little stepdaddy or whatever.
No, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
So who would you rather spend a night with the escort booked on assault charges, or would you rather spend a night with Luka Doncic's mom?
Okay. For the fear of my wife always tuning into the stream when I'm answering these difficult questions. Yeah, both. Am I rocking a Doncic out? Yes, I am rocking a Mr. Luka Doncic. If I didn't lose my job and I lived in a larger metropolitan area, maybe I'd go buy a Celtics jersey or a Doncic jersey, but I'm not in the position to do that. So I homemade.
This is fucking hysterical.
Yes, that is Jeff. I heard from Jeff very much. He's working hard in that shop, I bet.
You got that HQ, baby. We over here in the HQ. What you talking about? Things are going great over in the HQ.
You think so?
How many cards?
Yes,
okay, he only has 1,700 products.
Dude, I got 1,000 listed on eBay. I got 1,000 listed on eBay.
So I was about to say,
How do I have more? How do we have more listed on eBay than he has
I know.
fucking listed in his shop?
And he's got
How
like
is that
9. If
possible?
I had goddamn, if I had one employee over here, I'd have 3,000 things listed. Doing this all myself.
At least.
Yeah.
Oh
Jeez.
my goodness, Jeff.
Jeff, I think this is. I mean,
$5 slabs, not bad. I don't mind some $5 slabs in my
yeah,
life.
I mean, that's a problem though.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like
gonna have to sell like 20,000 of those to
Maybe
keep his
with all the
mortgage.
employees. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, everybody knows our feelings about this. I think there's more to come from Cards HQ. There's a pivot coming soon. I think. Massive
I think
pivot.
I think the pivot is using up some of the useless space in the. I mean, how many group break cabanas is Jeff using these days? I mean, I don't think he has all 6 cranked up, right?
He needs to serialize the breaks. Is what he needs to do. God damn. What is he doing?
Do the Filthbomb method.
Yeah, he needs to go Filthbomb. Well, I'm sure when Filthbomb sees him in New York City, he'll say, "Well, Jeff, you're going to bring the HQ to New York, right? Because you're just going to come work with me."
Yeah. Yeah, because the guys who have opened the second card shop in this industry are, you know, that list is a mile long, right? I love how these people always talk about, oh, we'll open a second location. It's like, how many people have actually ever done that with any success? This is a passion project when you open up a shop like this. This wasn't, he grew into this and he has a 700 square foot warehouse with 40 million cards like Burbank Sports Cards and had to open up another location for his retail store, right? This is Jeff wanting to flex his muscle, wanting to flex some of those dollars, baby, being a tech investor in Atlanta. He opened up a shop with, you know, no revenue, no cards. And here we are. We're 6 months into this shop opening and he has 1,700 products listed on his website.
His business could stay afloat if he just turned each one of those break cabanas into a massage room.
There we go.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Might need some extra permits for that, but I think you could talk to the state of Georgia and the city and you can get some of those permitting.
Get that worked out.
I do think some of the unusable space, and you can't see it from this picture, but the little what the fuck did they call it? Where you could watch the breaks live, or the group break arena, or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah.
Nobody uses that. Nobody uses that. He could actually transition and just put those people into a cabana and then utilize that space for either card storage or an online operation or something. But hopefully Jeff gave himself, you know, a runway here to where as he scales this up, and maybe he's doing a lot better than it appears. I don't know. I don't have insight into that. I'm sure he's going to tell you everything's going great. I'm sure if you ask all the influencers, they're going to be like, oh, Jeff's doing great. But it's hard to say. Hard to get insight into that. And I don't think he has people spending $20,000, let alone $3 million, like our buddies over at Filthbomb Breaks. I think Filthbomb has a longer runway than our Cards HQ, maybe, but we'll see.
Wow. Do we have a Morelli update? Did he ride off in the sunset with his family of attorneys?
Joe Morelli, I want to say he maybe reached out to me one more time, but I can't totally recall. He was kind of, if you don't recall the story, he was this former Star Stock employee that got mad that I literally I showed his name in a video. I didn't talk about him. The email wasn't demeaning toward him, wasn't trying to attack him in
He was just
any
doing his
way.
job. Yeah.
I was not trying to attack Joe Morelli in any kind of way. He then text messages me threats and all kinds of bullshit and saying all kinds of stuff. And yeah, that went on for about a week, and then he has since calmed down. I think he said he was going to come to my house and like beat me up or something. And I'm like, okay. That would make for a fun video to make, but that might get me out of bed to make a video. But so no update on Joe Morelli.
It's too bad.
He has probably lost the wind in the sports card world, is my guess.
That's not good. I think you had an update on Christina's flip flops.
Yeah, I talked to her just a few days ago. I emailed her. I sent her my address. She's signing the flip flops. She's sending them to me. I should have them in my hands probably pretty shortly. So
Okay. Filthbomb is also on Whatnot as Foul Line Baseball.
I heard that he sells a lot on Whatnot too, but I think they're really tight and in bed with Fanatics. And I know that I think there was that Bloomberg article where it talked about how Fanatics was so over the moon and so ecstatic that they got Filthbomb to come break on Fanatics Live. So there's some bit of ass slapping between these two companies. That's probably why the president of Fanatics Live took the time today to reach out to the customer to try to play damage control here. Because Fanatics Live might need Filthbomb as much as Fanatics needs them.
Interesting. Run Good Life, also a prolific breaker, says, why are the biggest breakers in the world doing consignment and not just outright cashing people out for 80% and then selling?
Great question.
It seems to me they could maybe even do it 100%. If it's a great
Probably
customer.
because it's not all the way on the up and up. And that's why they kind of have to do these weird things. And they don't just cash people out at 80% like you see at card shows.
It's like 50 to 60.
Maybe they don't have the cash.
That too.
Seems to me that there's, they're the quote biggest, but they don't have any cash. You know what I mean?
Well,
they have to talk about white gloves.
Look, they do player breaks and they do 100 case breaks. How much time do you think that takes to sort, and how many people does that take?
Yeah.
So yeah, there probably is money coming in, but it's a 10-15 man operation. So yeah, maybe there's money coming in, but it all gets sliced out X number of different ways, and nobody's driving the Lambos and the Ferraris yet because they're still trying to scale this business up.
Okay. Keep the Doncic hat on.
Keep the Doncic mother coming up.
Tim is a 4 times better producer than Dr. Dre. Wow. That's a strong statement. That is very high praise. Very high praise.
Will Greer investor knows best.
He does.
Damn right.
He would know. He would know. Tell you what, that girl on the right looking. David Snyder, $9.99. What about the red carpet service at Cards HQ? They better be rolling it out, Ryan. Cards HQ. Do you think we'll have an encounter with Mr. Wilson at the Fanatics Live event, or not Fanatics Live? What's it called? Fanatics Fest.
Who knows? Like I said, I've had a lot of awkward interactions with people in the hobby that we've talked about, and personal confrontations, and I've been shoot off tables for video. When I'm shooting video at the National, I've been shoot off of tables from people who don't like us. So,
okay,
had the Tops employee confront me at the industry summit, and his hands were shaking, and he wanted, why don't you want to do a deal with us? And so we've had a lot of awkward moments, and so. Wouldn't surprise me if we see Jeff Wilson. Wouldn't surprise me if something comes out of my mouth that, maybe the people in earshot would chuckle at. So I'm sure I'll have something to say, because I think those things are kind of funny. If he wants to serve us with the lawsuit, I mean, we're standing right there. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know. We didn't end up getting sued.
That was 2.5 years ago.
Oh, we were the ones that the ball was in our court.
The ball was in our court, according to these genius content creators.
We were supposed to be telling the truth. Again, just like most content creators in this hobby don't understand basketball, even less of them understand how the law works. And we're very familiar with how the law works. And we were well within our rights of confronting Mr. Wilson about his double-dipped PPP loan. Thank you, David Snyder, for the $10. We do appreciate it, since we don't get PPP loans over here, and I'm unemployed. More from David Snyder. different Dave. Is this no same David Snyder? $4.99. Tim, do you have a favorite MILF? I mean athlete.
Luka's mom
Luka's mom. Good answer. There you go.
and Kobe.
And Kobe. Kobe's wife.
Yes, that too.
There we go. Wow. We went there.
I'm not sure how old his daughter is, but for the respect of Mr. Bryant, we won't go there either. But maybe one day.
Wow. Damn.
I love you, Kobe. No more PWCC. Ryan, what happened here?
Well, that is kind of interesting news. PWCC to get rebranded to Fanatics Collect. I think that was something that could be expected when it happened. Look for something similar to happen to SGC. That everybody says, "Oh, SGC, business as usual." That might get rolled up into PSA. In a similar way that now PWCC is no longer. So, I mean, what's going to happen to our girl Betsy? I mean, in a couple of years, we're going to be talking about PWCC, and nobody's going to know what we're talking about. They're going to be a little like, what? I don't sell my Lukas on there.
Well, I think with just, I don't know enough about, I've been on PWCC, maybe not more recently. I've only glanced at maybe some of their auctions, but I think with the competition that's out there, it's going to be a part of their business.
Their fees are out of control. I talked to the customer who so this customer, remember I said that he was overseas, right? And so he was shipping a lot of stuff to the PWCC vault. They'll charge you like $6 for an empty envelope. Somebody at one point gifted this guy a pack of cards, right? They put an extra pack of cards into the shipment and it got sent to the PWCC vault. PWCC charged them $25 to process that pack of cards. So you literally can't send extra cards in a shipment because PWCC will fucking charge you for them. So this guy got tired of dealing with he got tired of dealing with PWCC. That's why he was looking for an alternate option in this, this breaker that had beef with Filthbomb.
Wow.
So PWCC, their vault, and to me, is not very impressive. I mean, you could send graded cards to free to the PSA vault. You can send graded cards to free to alt. ComC might even at $1 a clip to send graded cards in might be a better option than PWCC, but unless you specifically want those cards on their marketplace. But I think PWCC has fallen off tremendously since they got kicked off eBay for shill bidding, and they've never recovered. And then they had to sell the company for $1 to Fanatics, and now they've been rebranded. So
yeah, it seems to me there's probably some avenues that they could use it in a similar way to how they use Tops.com. There's probably some ways that they can funnel some customers over there. But in terms of like the consignment game, I mean, we talked about like the major companies like Golden and ComC and stuff. But then you've got all the guys on eBay. You know what I mean? You've got at least 4 or 5 what I would call larger prominent consigners on eBay, let alone, there's a ton of like middle tiered guys. And then it looks like these breakers run a consignment service.
These breakers,
let alone you can take your cards to a card show and you'll get offered 80 to 90% off all day long. So it seems to me a crowded space, and you have to separate yourself one way or another. I think we see companies like Golden separating themselves kind of from a marketing perspective. They've got a show on Netflix, which is, more or less kind of a marketing, way to market their website in a way that other sites can't. Then you have Check on My Cards, which is kind of more the low end, and they have some like higher end stuff, but it's only, $10 and less. So where is Fanatics going to fit in? Fanatics and / PWCC going to fit in. And I think that's the question. They've got to do something, in my opinion, where it's break on Fanatics live and go sell on Fanatics. What is it called? Collect or whatever. Go sell on Fanatics Marketplace for a 5% fee or something. You know what I mean? Like they've got to combine it like that. Otherwise, why would I go out of my way to use them? I guess. Just my opinion. The Big Cost Music channel with the 20. Thank you.
Dang.
Vintage cards box breaks are kind of boring, but at least it's harder to pull scams. Yeah, it depends. You got the wraps, you got the the BBCE wrap, which certainly can have its own problems and those types of things. But yeah, vintage breaks are kind of interesting. We've been buying more vintage cards recently, not through a breaking channel, but more through kind of the unopened lot or large lot perspective. I just bought 40 or 50. I think it was 1963 tops. Can't remember. But that was the Big Cost Music channel. Thank you, sir.
Dang right.
KPAC with the $4.99 says this is basically a conspiracy to commit fraud, if true, as referring to not Luka's mom or me doing her. It was all this stuff with Filthbomb. Yeah, something shady's going on here. And I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm sure at some point we'll get to the bottom of it. And when the bottom is found, we'll be one of the only programs to talk about it because the rest of these guys can't. They just can't. KPAC coming in with another 20.
But wait. When a $1 billion company runs a special, they run and fucking tell us about it.
Jesus. Yeah, exactly.
Good Lord. Some of y'all just run PR for these card fucking manufacturers and companies like it's your job.
Well,
like
look,
it's literally your job.
We'll run PR for PSA. Send us a check.
Send us a fucking check.
I'll run PR.
Send us
for
Luka's
PSA.
mom for a night.
Or that. We promote PSA for like a decade, and they're like, damn, that must have been a hell of a night.
CBHobby.com. You can get a promo code 10% off with willgrider.com.
Right.
Somebody actually intelligent in this fucking hobby sent us a damn check.
Yeah, support the show, support CB Hobby. I don't think Fanatics cares. That's according to KPAC. When live first started, before they recorded, I caught the owner of a large breaking company bidding up an auction, took screenshots, and to Fanatics followed up, never did anything. Yeah, I think that it's in their best interest to not care, because the higher price this stuff goes, the better it is for Fanatics. Where I think they will care is if Filthbomb Breaks is taking sales off of the platform. I think that's a problem. And I think that's something that Filthbomb Breaks is going to have to solve here. Out of all of this, to me, that's the most pressing thing that Filthbomb has to address. You're taking the largest sales off of the platform. Fanatics, unless they're absolute idiots, is not going to like that.
Correct.
Luka Hypes reminds me of T-Mac. I would say T-Mac's career, though, I think he came out of high school, it was more gradual. Whereas literally Luka was being called generational talent from second number 1. I mean, yeah, this guy went from 7 points to 9 points to 15. And then he had a stretch there where he was easily a top.
Led the league in scoring 2 years in a row.
Led the league in scoring 2 years in a row when he was 20.
Well, look how fast it falls off, Colin. He was
right.
27. He averaged 24 a game. And then he averaged age 28, he averaged 21. And that was it. His career was literally over.
Yeah. And he was in good. Wasn't like T-Mac. I don't recall maybe injuries with him, but it looks like he played.
It was injuries.
Okay. But you know, he was a great athlete, a great athlete. And I mean, yeah, he was shooting kind of mid 40s, and it just falls off really quick. And this is what happens.
What'll happen with Luka. People think, oh, he's 25, he's gonna last forever.
No, this
Guys,
is it.
His prime is now, right now.
Although, if you look at his mom, the prime is lasting.
Well, yeah. Wait a minute. You're right. Hold on a minute.
Prime. We talking prime, Ryan? How old is she?
You're
like
right.
50?
She could be however old she wants. So You're right. That's a great point. Maybe he'll focus more on his health and his appearance, like his mother have, and have a better career than.
He
But
needs
people
Maybe
can
she's
see
not the real
it
mom.
falls off. It can
It
fall
falls
off quick.
quick.
He needs to
Quick.
focus on his defense. You should look up the video of Luka in the last game
Oh my
during
God.
the finals.
Oh, I mean, I watched. I mean, I'm watching it as it happens, and I'm like, wow, this is the guy.
He had like 15 blow-bys, like where people just dribbled right by him.
It's astonishing. Actually, Luka would be lucky to have a career of James Harden. He won an MVP. He came in
I would pull
second
up
twice.
like Westbrook. Westbrook is probably even another guy that fell off super hard. That was like MVP and then boom, gone.
This guy at age 34 is still, decent.
Yeah, but nobody cares. You know what I mean? I think that's what people don't realize is that Luka might win a title. Luka might, have some good seasons late in his career, but no one will give a damn because there'll be 10 other guys in the NBA in their prime. But like, look at Westbrook. He hit 27 at 27 was his peak, and then that was it.
He won MVP at 28.
And that's it.
And then it kind of has fallen off since. So Luka Doncic. How old is he?
We saw this from moment number one. It's 25. Said he was 25.
25.
When's his birthday?
When did he turn 25 though? February 28th.
Okay. So he's turning 26
next year.
But you can't even really look
his peak.
Can't even really look at points per game anymore. I mean, it's different. Like comparing his points per game to T-Mac.
Well, look at where he's finishing at MVP. He's finishing third or fourth, which James Harden and Russell Westbrook have done. Actually, Harden has won an MVP, and Westbrook has as well.
Yeah. No, he was supposed to have 3 MVPs by now, a title or 2, and all NBA and Olympic gold medal and all this other stuff, but hasn't happened. And here was your chance, and it didn't get the job done. Luka's looking like Big Country Reeves. And soon his body will do the same. Boy, Big Country, baby. Bryant Reeves.
There's boy, Big Country.
He's 50 years old.
That Luka will look like that in the last season of his career. He'll look fucking very similar to this.
I don't know. What does Bryant Reeves' mom look like? So, I mean, and Luka still has some real DNA.
I don't know if we have insight into that, but
we don't. Sadly, maybe that might be a good thing. Comments on Miss Alabama and Miss Maryland. I did not see Miss Maryland.
Okay, here we go. Let's do it.
This is the time of the show that it goes off the rails.
It goes. Oh wow! Yeah. Okay, Miss Alabama.
That's Miss Alabama, Ryan. It's Miss Alabama.
And what was the other one we needed?
Maryland.
Maryland. Okay.
Is that okay?
Trans?
Oh my god.
No, it says first. Oh, trans woman wins Miss Maryland USA. How is that even possible?
That's a problem.
And then here is Miss Alabama.
Trannies win.
That's a problem.
Female contest.
So what are your thoughts on Miss Maryland and setting a trap over here? Miss Maryland can set a trap. What do you think about Miss Maryland?
I called this. I said a man would win Miss whatever pageant within our lifetime.
I'm surprised it happened in some of these conservative states, actually. I'm surprised this wasn't California or something,
I mean,
she's gonna die before she's gonna die from diabetes before like 35.
Bring up like Miss Poland. Bring up like Miss Poland.
Is that even a thing?
Yeah. Or
if I was
here's Miss Poland.
She's not as cute as a lot of the Poland girls that I've seen.
Agree.
I don't think she's a great representation of the region because I've seen some photos and I'm like, wow, if I was a single guy, I'd be getting my passport prepared.
What about our own state? Who won Miss California?
My
All right.
Ukrainian goddess was hotter than Miss Poland.
Ukraine. Okay.
Sabrina Lewis.
All right.
There we go.
Okay. It's like a nice young lady.
Yeah. She looks tall.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Solid.
Good representation of California, I think, right there.
Could age well, like our guy, our Luka's mom. So
yeah, that's true. Slovenia, maybe that's where we need to go. Slovak. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Miss Alex sent me a DM. I'll have to get back to her. I think she.
Wow, you got.
I think she tuned in. She tuned into the last part of the show last week, and I think she's waiting for your proposal. So I'll have to.
We're gonna get that fired up.
Okay. Balance $4.99. Hey guys, love the show. Do you remember? Did you guys see Mr. Roth Cards bought one of a Luka Doncic in his recent video? I did not see that. What do you think the loss would be? I do not keep tabs on Mr. Roth Cards. His videos do not show up in my feed, although I don't watch a lot of sports card content, to be honest with you.
His latest video, they said, is it on Instagram or is it on?
He said YouTube. Probably YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably going to be. I mean, these guys are always buying shit at the top. The minute these guys start buying stocks, that's when you call up your broker and you sell everything, because these guys all pile in at the top.
There it is.
Oh, okay. Luka Kaboom 101. No, not a rookie.
Never misses. Yeah, these guys never miss an opportunity to hype something. He'll be with a very expensive Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum card next week. So
that'd be
stay tuned for that.
That'd be a color match, so it'd be a nice card. Yeah, I don't know. A 5th year Kaboom. I mean, look how fat that guy is. Jesus, I thought I was a little out of shape. My God, he looks like he's. I mean, come on. I don't know. So, thank you, Balance. Appreciate it. I don't think he's going to be making any money on that card. Christine with the $2. Christine coming in. Fuck Luka. It's Tatum's time. I think Tatum's a very good basketball player. When Tatum drives to the basket, I think it opens up his 3-point game. Obviously, a very good shooter, above average defender. But the guy on that team who I think has the most skill is Jalen Green. Just a real talented basketball player, in my opinion. You can tell he's like really practiced.
Is he staying in like a Best Western or where the fuck? I mean, where are these videos shot?
That doesn't look like. That could be, confidence. I don't know. It could be
the back room of this card show. So
yeah. That's what I think it is. He's got a cameraman. I mean, this is not filmed on his own iPhone, so he's got a cameraman.
There we go, baby.
Talking right into the camera. A little transition.
Yeah. We loving it.
Hustling. He's hustling.
Doesn't look very busy there. Maybe it's before the show started, maybe, or something.
Yeah, it could be like first day dealer kind of thing. Hustling.
We love it.
Got the earrings.
Is that the Grinder app on his phone? Oh, never mind. I'm just kidding.
No, he was out with Miss Alabama or Maryland or whatever her name is. You guys are the only influencers I need. Pride Heart Rainbow Philly. Thank you, Kurt 941.
There we go.
Right. We are the only influencers you guys need. I mean, I would watch the rest of this content too if you wanted to. Big Cost Music Channel coming in again with the 20. Thank you, sir. 80s NBA. Great teams had depth. 24 Celtics have depth. The rare thing today. They could go on a run. I agree. The Celtics look good. They have a very good coach. This time of the year, I think Cost Music Channel is right. It comes down a little bit to depth on your team. I also think it's a lot about coaching as well. I don't think Jason Kidd's a very good coach. I think if they had a good coach in in Dallas, they'd have at least won one game by now.
I think the talent gap past the two Dallas players is just so wide. Like if you take Tatum, Brown, and Luka and Kyrie off the mix and you just compare the two teams, the talent on Boston is just astronomical. I mean, who do you trust to take a shot besides Luka and Kyrie on Dallas?
Yeah, they don't
Washington?
really have anybody else. But the problem is, and we've talked about this, who wants to go play with Luka? Who the hell wants to go play with Luka? He doesn't play D, so he's not contributing on that end of the floor. And then, yeah, he's a decent passer, but he's going to jack up a lot of shots. And if the team wins, he's going to get all the credit. So would you rather go to Dallas and play second, third, fourth fiddle to a white player, or go to Atlanta, go to Washington, like we've seen some of these free agents do, go to Brooklyn? Like, that's what I would rather do. Go to Milwaukee.
Yeah, and I don't know Dallas's situation. I don't even know if they have room to add a third piece or what that would even involve to add another player to help them, potentially get over the hump. I don't even know if that's even possible.
In the last game, what's his name? Tim Hardaway Jr. He's technically their third highest scorer, but he went 0-0-0 in like 27 minutes.
Oh, he's scared to death. I mean, look at Maxi Kleba. Look at these other guys when they get the ball. They literally are running to get rid of it. I mean, they literally passing up open shots because they're terrified. And that's what happens in the NBA Finals. It's one thing to make shots and have a good game in the regular season. It's a whole nother thing to do it in the NBA Finals when the lights are the brightest.
Generational talents step up. That's why guys like this win. Because the rest of the guys are scared.
People don't want to admit it, but fouling out with 4 minutes left in the biggest game of your life, that's what he's known for right now.
Right.
He has to now overcome that he made it to the finals, and in game 3 where they had to fucking win, he fouls out with 4 minutes left. That's what he is known for. For a while, Kobe was known for airballing those shots against Utah before they got over for the 3 championships. For a while, Kobe, he's arrogant, or he takes too many shots, or he should pass it to Shaq, or he's not very good.
Same with Jordan.
He doesn't come up clutch.
Jordan was criticized too. He could only dunk.
We can't all be like Magic Johnson and win an NCAA championship in your junior or senior year, and then come to the NBA and win an NBA championship, where I think you had a 40-point triple-double in the deciding game. Not everybody's like Magic Johnson. That's who they were trying to. I remember when he came into the league, and there were people, probably card people, be like, he's a cross between Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. And I'm thinking to myself, he better win a title his first year. You calling him Magic fucking Johnson?
I mean, yeah, you could just tell the kids that make the comments. It's just a lot of them were in the chat earlier.
Do we teach history in this fucking country anymore? My God, what are they teaching in schools these days?
You don't want to know. You don't want to know
how to transition.
Yeah, exactly. Trans rights is what they're fucking teaching. I've seen it.
Yeah, they're
in third grade. They're teaching it to these kids.
Right. Exactly.
They ain't teaching it to high schoolers. They teaching it in third grade.
I know. Trust me, I know. This is why my bill for my kids' education is $775 a month. So
damn,
they ain't teaching that at Catholic school. Title City Sports, $5. Get the duck boats ready. Sweep.
Yep.
Celtics. That's what it's looking like.
Yep.
It's looking like a sweep, guys. Oh my God, we have a caller. This is CB Hobby Hotline. Looks like Mr. Costa. How are you doing, sir?
Gentlemen, how are you?
We're great. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me. I'll be honest. I am a fan.
Thank you.
I like what you
fan of Luka.
Thank you. But
seemed like there was a but there.
I'm getting a major echo, so hopefully we can figure this out.
You have to mute whatever stream. You have to mute the regular stream.
What do you think he's gonna? I think he's got to be okay.
First
Okay.
time joining StreamYard and YouTube, but no, I am a fan. I like what you guys do, but I got some texts and some calls that there was some conversation about our shop. So happy to jump in, happy to chat. Hopefully,
What shop is this?
So I own Card
Oh.
Vault at Patriot Place, TD Garden. Exactly, that's our shop.
Okay. So we got an email the other day that says one of your, I guess this is Keith, the 603 guys, one of your employees?
But yes, for purposes of the conversation, yes, Keith was an employee of ours.
How long ago did he work for you guys?
So the story goes, when we started the business back 2021, we were looking to get into the grading business. Keith was a local grader or submitter up in the New Hampshire area, and we saw him at a bunch of the local shows, developed a relationship with him, and decided to hire him and bring him on as our director of grading. So our grading business, as we built it, Keith was kind of in charge of building the operation, but at the time, Keith only had an SGC account. He didn't have his own PSA account, didn't have his own Beckett account. So we were taking submissions, and because we didn't have a PSA account at the time, which we do now, Keith was utilizing third parties, one of which, unfortunately, was Mark's Cards. So I'll pause there because I haven't caught up. I didn't watch the beginning of the show. So whatever questions you guys have, happy to answer them, but we can dig in as much as you want.
Okay. So I guess my first question is, when did Keith stop working for you?
So we removed Keith as director of grading about nine months ago.
And what was the reason for removing him?
Because, well, at the end of the day, the job just wasn't getting done the way we wanted it to get done. I mean, we navigated the Mark's Card situation when that happened, and we're fortunate enough for none of our, I think it was a very small number of our customers' cards being part of that issue. Coming out of that, I think there were just challenges, us opening multiple locations, and Keith, living in New Hampshire. It just started to become more and more of a challenge for us to continue to grow the grading business the way that we wanted to grow it.
Okay. And so what was alleged, at least in this email, is that apparently Keith maybe was at a hobby shop, maybe this Case Hits Collectibles. He was taking in cards to be graded. And what's being alleged is that somebody, at least the example given was a Tom Brady rookie, was dropped off to Keith to 603 Collectibles, and then he swapped that out for an inferior card. Is that something that ever happened at Card Vault? Is that something you've ever heard of?
It's nothing I've ever heard of, been aware of, or seen happen, or had a customer reach out to us directly with an issue. What Keith did for us as Card Vault was specifically cards that were submitted to our store or through shops that we partnered with locally.
And so you no longer run any kind of, do you do any kind of group submitting now, or is that
We absolutely do, but we do under our own PSA account, our own Beckett account, our own SGC account. So over the last 2.5 years, we've built up the business to have our own accounts, have an operation for each of our stores. So each one of our 3 locations accepts cards from customers in shop, and then we send them out on a weekly basis, on a rolling weekly basis.
And you've never had any complaints about perhaps cards getting switched out or cards coming back altered that maybe weren't altered? That's never been a complaint
No, we've never, sorry to cut you off. We've never had complaints. Obviously, when you run a grading business, there's high volume. So every once in a while, there's customer service issues, which is part of the business. And we handle that on a weekly basis. I handled the customer service issue earlier today. But as far as tampering or fraudulent behavior, none of that has ever surfaced on our end whatsoever.
Okay. And then just to reiterate, you said that Keith no longer works with you as of 9 months ago.
Correct.
Perfect. And can you jump back and tell me the relationship with Mark's Cards? Did you ever talk to Mark's Cards? Did you have a relationship with him at all?
I wouldn't say I had a relationship with Mark. I met Mark a couple of times. I think his name was Mark, or maybe Mark was his brother, I think, who had passed. but I met him a couple of times at the Dallas Card Show years ago. We haven't gone to the Dallas Card Show as a company in probably 2 years. But I met him a couple of times there. His business was exploding, and he was the talk of the grading world, and everybody was submitting their cards to him. And I know Keith had, prior to us getting our own PSA account, had used him as a third party, much like a lot of people who got burned did. And so I had known that we had a relationship with him in that way. Outside of the few times I met Mark at the Dallas show and maybe once at a national a few years ago, that was literally the only communication that we had. I've never spoken to him directly via text or phone or anything like that, just a couple of meetings in person.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we got this email I probably reached out to you on Instagram. I had to have reached out to you some way, and I did actually reach out to 603 Trading Cards. I did not know that he was no longer working for you, so that's maybe one reason why he did not get back to me or did not feel the need to talk. But just to reiterate, you're saying that nothing shady has happened either currently or in the past with the group submission business, and all of this is either a misunderstanding and or made up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hate to tell a collector or say a collector's lying about it, and I'm not even saying that's necessarily the case. You know, at the end of the day, what happens in our shop and what happens under our shop's name is ultimately our responsibility. If a customer had a bad experience, or if a customer feels like they had a card swapped, that's something that we would absolutely look into. It's not something that I've been aware of. Maybe this is a point in time where we actually look into something that potentially happened. But this wouldn't have happened in the last year plus, as far as Keith accepting cards for Card Vault from a customer locally. Yeah, it's hard to say. If something did happen, which, you know, listen, I know Keith, and I think Keith's a good person. Him and his employment with us has nothing to do with his character or anything like that. If there was something that happened between him and a collector, or if a collector was submitting cards with him a year ago or 10 months ago for Card Vault, and he felt like a card was swapped, we'd absolutely look into that. I would highly doubt it, knowing Keith. But at the end of the day, reading this, getting pulled into this YouTube is absolutely the first time I've ever heard of this situation. And that's all I've got on it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for clearing that up. Another question I have is, what is Robert Kraft, who's I think the owner of the New England Patriots, what connection does he have to the business?
He's our landlord. So Ed, who is one of my partners, who's to Jonathan Kraft's our left, his immediate right. Ed and Robert have a really close relationship over the years. So my partners, Ed and Randy, they own one of the largest nightlife and entertainment companies in New England. We have 19 total venues: bars, nightclubs, restaurants, hospitality venues. So him and Robert over the last 40 years have developed a really close relationship. That's what led us to opening our first location at Patriot Place at Gillette Stadium, which is what you see here. And the reason he's cutting the ribbon is he's our landlord. And, you know, he's partners with them in other businesses as well. So, and I'm not saying this to try to be a big shot, right? We run a business as clean and as efficient as we can. We've scaled our business to 3 locations. We have a 4th location that we're working on. We are absolutely maniacal about running a clean shop and running a clean operation. In the sports card world, obviously, there is always a customer service issue, like I mentioned earlier, that you're going to have to deal with here and there. And we've had our fair share. But under no circumstances do we in any way, shape, or form, you know, allow or even consider any room for our employees or ourselves as a business to have any, I don't know, I guess malfeasance. It's a big fancy word, but malfeasance, you know, going on from a day-to-day basis. So it freaked me out because, like I said, when I came in, I'm a fan of you guys. I like what you do, you know, and to hear that we were getting talked about, I wanted to try to get in here and see if we could clear anything up. And yeah, like I said, if something happened, we'll look into it. But to this point, I absolutely unequivocally can say that we have not heard anything around this situation whatsoever.
Fair enough. No, I appreciate you coming on and clearing the air on this. What's the age of your oldest hobby shop? How long has it been open?
Almost 4 years now.
How is business now compared to, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago? How's business right now for the card shop?
It's a good question. I think the business has changed. The industry's changed drastically, right? We all were running around thinking we were on top of the world 4 years ago when singles were going nuts and the market couldn't be stopped. Us as a business, we pivoted probably 3 years ago to really focus on the wax business and being more of a retailer, right? So our hobby shops, they are less of a hobby shop than your traditional LCS. We certainly carry singles, we certainly carry hobby wax and retail wax, but we try to be more of an entry point for the collector. So the business that we're building is this venue adjacent concept, right? Putting sports cards in, around, or next to ballparks, arenas, and stadiums, and putting cards in front of the fan and trying to convert the fan into a collector. So you have a much more of a entry level educational experience. So I can't comment on like the rest of the LCS and hobby shop community. For us, we've seen consistent growth in foot traffic, because I think what we're doing is trying to create more collectors who will then effectively go out to the local hobby shops in the community and so forth. So to answer your question in a shorter version, business has been great, and business has definitely changed. How we do business has changed. We started this business focusing on high-end singles and Brady rookies and Jordan autographs. And, we tried to take our trade show, like the cards that we would go to Dallas with and the National with, and put those in the shops. But when the market and the singles started to trend downwards, we realized we had to pivot and really focus on sealed wax, retail wax, lower end singles, and start to kind of shift and change with the market.
And how hard is it to get wax and get allocation for product? Is it easier than it was a few years ago? Or are you finding it harder to obtain the wax that you need for these shops to sell?
Yeah, I think it's different for everybody, and it's different for every operator. We have made it a point to continue to reinvest in the business and continue to grow our brand, or try to grow our brand, and continue to try to show the manufacturers, Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, that we are investing in the space and putting our shops in flagship locations, which I think in turn has got their buy-in in the sense of they feel like we are good for the hobby, whether you agree or not. We feel like we are good for the industry. So that has led to us getting, I would say, a fair allocation. We do not have any of these monstrous allocations that some of the OGs in the space might have. But by growing and adding stores, each store has allowed us to kind of grow our allocation from each manufacturer incrementally. So that has helped us make sure that we have enough supply to put on the shelves.
Are you only buying direct from Fanatics, or are you going to the other distributors? Like how else are you acquiring some of this wax?
Yeah, so we have direct allocation accounts from all three manufacturers, and then we also do purchase from distributors. So I have accounts with two of the main four distributors. So that's really where we started, right? We didn't start with direct allocation from Topps and Panini and Upper Deck. We started by leveraging distributors and growing that and buying off the secondary market and doing everything we could to stock the shelves. So it's a mix of everything. On the retail side, we'll still go out and buy online if we need to. But, luckily what we're seeing is a lot of participation from the manufacturers in the retail space. So, hey, less Walmart, less Target. Let's focus on the hobby shops and get the hobby shops some of the blaster inventory and some of the mega box inventory. So that's been a great kind of pivot from them over the last, I would say, 3, 4, 5 months.
Are these shops profitable? Are you still in a building? I think you said you're opening a fourth one. Are you still trying to grow this so that it scales to become profitable, or are these shops already self-sustaining on their own?
Yeah, another good question. So the shops themselves are profitable. We and the way we run our business, we look at a monthly profit and loss statement. This is more of, I guess, a business conversation. So I think that's an interesting topic, but every month we look at a profit and loss statement and we look at every single line item on our P&L, whether it's operational costs, labor, overhead, shipping, office supplies, utilities, rent, everything. All the way down to then on our inventory side, cost of goods sold, in making sure that we're constantly on top of how we're pricing our product, making sure that we're with the market, but also with an eye towards being a profitable business, which is every business needs to focus on. And that has led us to really be able to fine tune our operation and operate in a lean way, as lean as possible. So again, to answer your question in a shorter version, each shop is profitable, some more than others. All of those profits have been reinvested in the business. So we have not, to this day, over 4 years, outside of a couple of salaries, we have not pulled money out of the business in any way, shape, or form, outside of reinvesting in new locations, hiring new employees, promoting employees. So it's been organic growth to this point, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, for sure.
And then how many employees do you have working at these shops?
Yeah, so we also have a breaking business. So that if you lump that into our operation, Card Vault Breaks, we have studios that are in our brand new TD Garden location. That team sits in the shop in like kind of a separate section of the store.
Okay.
But as a company, we're over 30 employees now.
Over 30. And how big are these shops square foot? Our buddy Jeff Wilson opened the 14,000 square foot mega store down in Atlanta. How big are these shops that you're opening?
Yeah, great question. A lot of good questions. The average shop, every shop is different. Our Foxwoods Casino shop is the smallest. That's a 1,200 square foot store. Our Patriot Place location's a 1,600 square foot store. And our Boston Garden location is retail space, about a 1,200 square foot space. But then we also have a podcast studio up front. So when you walk into TD Garden, the Boston Garden, the store is on your right, to the right of the escalator. We have a podcast / break studio with glass as you walk by, almost like you would see like a local radio station do or a local TV station do.
Right.
So we tried to get it so like we'd be breaking cards as people enter the garden and leave the garden. And so we have a podcast studio up front. That's actually a large space. So the overall footprint of the store is a little bit bigger than the store you would call out the store to be, but 1,200 square feet of retail space in Boston.
Interesting. Well, Chris, look, not very many people come on to address things that we say at Sports Card Radio. And so for you to take the courage to call, we appreciate that. And we appreciate you talking about this and clearing this up, and for you talking about your shop. And so we certainly wish you luck.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Obviously hate to be, to have to jump on here under these circumstances, but we'll absolutely, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with me over social. I know you mentioned you reached out, but would love to have a better look at it. I'm trying to talk to you guys as I'm trying to read an article.
Sure.
So it'd be great to look into it. Appreciate you guys giving us the time to give our side of the story. And like I said, I'm a fan of what you guys do. Keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully we'll have a chance to chat again soon.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, Chris.
So to reiterate, what I heard from him is that 603, our boy Keith here, was kind of running the kind of grading operations over at their card stores. And he is no longer with them as of about 9 months ago. So, and Card Vault denies that anything happened in terms of shady stuff with cards maybe being swapped out for inferior ones. And so we appreciate him coming on and clearing that up. And like he said, they've got 4 or 5 shops down there in the Massachusetts area, ranging from 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. So
I was like reading the chat. I was going to ask him, like, what is his thoughts on Jeff Wilson's? How many square feet does Jeff Wilson have?
14,000. I thought about asking that, but I don't
You're
want
gonna have
people
to- okay.
like, you kind of set them up to like, I did that with Rob Vieras. Like, you set him up and
Right.
it's like, is he going to crush Jeff or you know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like, I almost like to just focus on their business, on what they've got going on. You know, there might be some guests that call in and we can ask them about Jeff, or certainly if Christine calls in, we can talk to her about Jeff. And, but I kind of, you know, he certainly had, you know, it takes a lot of guts that after, you know, we filet mignon an email in front of the public to then call in and be like, oh yeah, you guys were talking about me. It takes a lot of guts to do that and to clarify. And
Probably
get things going.
1140 where he lives too.
Honest to God, I know I reached out to 608. I know I reached out to the hobby shop. Let me just make sure that I did indeed reach out to what's it called?
Card Vault.
Card Vault. Okay, it does look like but the problem is my dumbass, I'll just send, so what I do is I just send this email and I'd be like, thoughts or whatever, question mark, or what's this about, right? I don't preface it with anything, right? And it's coming from my Instagram account, which doesn't necessarily like identify me unless you
I see.
know what I look like. I think
You
that
can send
picture
it
on
from
there,
you can send it from the Sports Card Radio one if you have access to that.
it might actually get the response.
They're about to shut down my
about.
Facebook, so I might have to. I don't know what I'm going to do there, but Facebook's asking me to like send a video of myself to prove I'm real. It's like, bitch, I've been on Facebook fucking since day one. Now I got to prove I'm fucking real. So
I noticed that the other day when I was setting up the live stream that you were banned from Facebook.
I know I'm banned from Facebook right now because they want me to post a video of myself. It's like, bitch, you already know who I am. Fuck. How much information you need of me? Now you need a video? What is this? Fucking the IRS and shit? So I might get banned from Facebook, but whatever.
As long as Luka's mom isn't on Facebook, and that's the only way you can talk to her. So
if we were friends on Facebook, I'd already have that video posted. So
maybe we should talk shit on Luka's mom and she'll call in maybe to defend her son. I don't know. Maybe she'll be the next one to call in.
Well, could she just show up at the Pendry in August? That'd be better.
Good Lord. So I think we got some good insight there. I think, you know, if any of this went down, it actually probably went down, you know, quite a while ago. When he said, "Oh, Keith was no longer with us," I was like, "Oh boy, did Keith get fired?" Like, oh boy. But apparently it was amicable, and they just moved in a different direction. And
well, he said the job wasn't getting done, so I don't know how amicable it was. It was just the guy wasn't getting the job done.
Well, it sounds like he didn't even have a relationship with PSA. That's why he's over here with our boy Mark's Cards taking a picture with him.
That's what I thought was weird too, is that it was like, do you group submit underneath a personal account? You know, like, why isn't there like a business account? You know,
no, you have to be an authorized group submitter. And so when things were taking off, there were actually only a few people who were, quote, authorized. And then remember when PSA shut down, I mean, Mark's Cards for a time, I mean, that's why Card Collector 2 went through them, is because Mark's Cards was one of the few people. And that's actually a question for PSA. Like, why in the fuck was this guy like a top guy? Why?
I mean, is this under
Joe Orlando, Nat Turner?
Yeah, exactly.
I think this overlapped a little bit though with Nat Turner. Why?
What are you guys doing?
Why do people have to go to Mark's Cards to submit cards to you? PSA? That makes no fucking sense. That's how disorganized, you know, this company was. Not only Mark's Cards, but probably PSA in a lot of ways as well. Nat Turner has tried to clean this up, and they've done an okay job. The best thing this company has going for it is every time they do something, every time they run a special, there's all these people who will run to social media to promote it for them. If PSA actually had to do their own marketing and actually had to grind out to gain customers, you might actually see them give a fuck about the scores and the grades they give on these cards. But the same thing with Beckett and the Beckett boys and the Beckett excuse makers. And you're seeing the same thing with PSA.
There you go.
You don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. So PSA and Fanatics can certainly do no wrong with the people within the industry. But I'd certainly loved at some point to talk to a person with PSA and be like, explain to me how Mark's cards, how all these Card Collector 2, 603 Collectibles, Card Vault, all these people had to go through Mark's cards to get cards to you.
It's weird.
Doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Did he blow Nat Turner? Is Mark's cards like on the ground blowing Nat Turner? Is it late enough in the show that we can that we could start saying those things? Remember in the podcast when we used to,
oh God,
you used to make a fat joke, a racial joke, and a homophobic joke, and weave it into how you shouldn't be buying Luka Doncic cards. I almost played a clip on the show, but I was worried, like how you got kicked off Facebook, that we were going to get kicked off YouTube.
Yeah, I can't do that.
What was our girl, Miss Maryland? You got to be, you got to be politically correct. Even if you ain't even born a woman, you could still win Miss Maryland. I mean, man.
I mean,
the American dream personified right here.
Does it look better than Miss Alabama though? I mean, from 30 feet away, Miss Maryland's looking okay.
As I said, that's a trap, man. Miss Maryland's a trap. At least you know what you're getting right here. You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting into.
You're getting too much, I think, is what you're getting.
You know what you're getting into right here.
You're getting way too much, and you don't want to get into that. Gonna need hopefully you have like a winter's cold if you getting into that, if you know what I mean.
Here's a great headline. Beauty pageant jumps the shark. Miss Maryland is a he and Miss Alabama is a 3X. Wow. That's a head. People think we're negative at Sports Card Radio. Must read Alaska. Do you guys go over? You guys are so negative and you're so mean.
I'm sure they heard it. Got on Twitter or something. I'm sure they heard it. I'm sure they heard it.
You guys should be nice to Luka.
Oh, man.
Wembanyama's Silver Prism is $9.58. Luka's is $13.42. We got a long way to go.
Long ways to go.
If these cards are overpriced, holy shit, guys.
Long ways to go. There'll probably be a $200 bill here pretty soon.
At the end of his career, there'll be less than a $200 bill.
Probably.
Jason Moran's been donating.
Yes, he has. Thank you, Jason.
Moran's the homie.
Appreciate it. He was giving props to both Costa and Santiago, who appeared live on the program.
It goes a long way. It goes a long way with us. I think it goes a long way with people watching.
Miss Maryland is calling in.
Miss Maryland, yes.
Oh man,
you need to talk to her.
This could be.
Good evening,
Maryland.
Good evening.
Sounds exactly like Miss Maryland would.
How you doing?
That's what we expected.
Probably working out the echo. Miss Maryland. Oh dang.
Please call us back. Bailey Ann Kennedy, please call us back.
Bailey Ann. Oh man.
You think that was I have to be careful here. This person's given name at birth, Bailey Ann Kennedy, or
I don't know. I don't know
how does that work?
I have no idea.
We don't know. We get in trouble when we talk about that. People just want us to fucking, you should be nice to people.
I mean, I actually don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with any of that. I don't have a problem with somebody winning the pageant. I don't have a problem with somebody wanting to change their gender. where I have a problem is where I draw the line is we don't need to be teaching kids under a certain age about this. Let's teach them how to fucking read. Let's teach them how to write. Let's teach them how to be good people and good citizens. When they're older, they can worry about this stuff and deal with it. And if it's what they want to do, I got no problem with it. And if a pageant wants to award beauty to whoever, it doesn't impact my day at all. Where I start to want to draw the line is kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth graders that don't even know how to read very well yet, don't even know math. If you look at like the math scores and the reading scores out here in California, you got people, like a good percentage of people that graduate high school that can't even fluently read.
Go to the Midwest. Look what it's like.
And we're trying to put up pride flags and do all this inclusive DEI shit in the schools. How about we just teach our kids how to read and how to write? And when they get to this age, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. And I don't have a problem with Miss Alabama. If this is beauty in Alabama, by all fucking means. This is why I don't live in Alabama, though. Because you go down to Hermosa Beach, you ain't seeing this. So you seeing that shit on the right. So
I'm just you know, I just want to someday and grow up and write as good a headline as Must Read Alaska. Miss Maryland is a he and Miss Alabama is a 3X. Yeah, AI probably wrote it. So I mean, tremendous content there.
That's where I get on my YouTube. You go to ChatGPT and you're like, you are a financial YouTube. And then you like sometimes like I have script from my videos and I'm like, give me catchy headlines and I'll paste on my script. And I swear to God, it like puts out pretty good headlines. Usually you have to take like a piece from this one and then put them together, but it works.
I'm okay with analyzing these women and their appearance the same way we analyze, you know, Luka Doncic and his jump shot and his weight and how he performs in massive games.
That's why you go to a pageant, is to get analyzed from a beauty perspective.
There you go. And judged.
Literally
judged.
Yeah, literally judged.
Literally judged.
And I mean,
for it.
I don't, you know, and again, I don't have a problem with it. You know, we're all adults. We can all make our own decisions, but I don't think we should be, you know, they're like trying to bring up these conversations in schools.
It's one thing to be judged. It's another thing if you're a born male and you start swimming or you start competing in sports. So
could you imagine? Well, that too. I mean, could you imagine if you're one of the other ladies in Maryland and you lost to that?
You straight lost. Look at this girl's face. Look at this one. She just like, oh my God, I have to tell my friends about this.
I lost.
How am I going to face my family?
Man, that's going to sting. That stings.
People say California is all woke and stuff. You better be checking your own yard. You better be checking your own backyard, guys.
All the woke people are leaving.
Yeah, all the woke people are gone, guys. They can't afford it. Wake up.
What's left is a bunch of non-English speaking immigrants and conservative white people
and rich people.
What's left, and that's it. And Luka's mom, hopefully.
And Luka's mom. So we've really, you know, dived down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, well, it's now it's damn near 12 o'clock on the Eastern time. It's 9 p.m. This is what happens when I get fired. I can stretch this out to 9 p.m. But yeah, you know, it's late, and I'm sure Tim has, you know, something lined up. You might even have something lined up, and I'm probably gonna tune into a Gotham chess video and call it.
I'm gonna scan and list cards. So.
Oh wow! Oh, look at you. I've got some stuff to do. I don't think I'm gonna do that tonight though. I'm getting paid to not have to work, so needless to say, my life is not particularly difficult at the current time.
If only we all could be there for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think for the past year I've been broadly overpaid, and then now I'm absolutely sure of it.
Now you're really being overpaid.
It is. It's a wonderful thing, but I will have a lot of work to do soon. But I'll be like a quarter owner of the thing, so
Well, if you have
Well,
some
people-
extra money, you can head over to cbhobby.com, promo
Damn
code
right.
Real Greer, ladies and gentlemen,
God, yes.
and go spend
Let's
some
do it.
money.
Let's do it.
I want to hear about a $20,000 order getting placed at CB Hobby, and you use the promo code to save $2,000.
That's what we'll do. Folks, thanks for tuning in tonight. When we join you again, Luka will be swept out of the finals. He'll be on his way to the Olympics where he'll completely blow his wad and his career will be over. It's a downward trend. His cards will go from 1,300 down to under 1,000 by this time next year. Hope you guys enjoyed today's live stream. Thank you, super producer Tim, for sticking it out and not sticking, something in another man's wife. And Ryan, or
I was going to say sticking it in Miss Maryland accidentally.
how does that work?
No,
Does she have
it's
does
a
she have
road blockade.
Does she have a package, or how does that work?
I don't know.
Or
She's got, hopefully she'll call in. We'll talk shit on her, and then this person will call in. I got to be careful, right? You got to be careful. Yeah, this person will call in next week.
Okay, thank you, folks. We'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for all the super chats and the donations. Thank you for the support. We'll be back next week, likely still unemployed, but ready to talk about the hobby that Jeff Wilson ruined.
Pride Week next week, guys. We're celebrating Pride Week next week.
It seems like it's always Pride Week.
It's our Pride Week next week, guys.
Damn right. We'll be back next week. For now, we're out here.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but you all got it all getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we're talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on cardstock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt. Cause the market's down and you're down, it's all false. You ruined the hobby I love with the bullshit. Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson. Did you dip me out? I think you dipped you out. What you talking about? I don't think you did. Yeah, it was just a shake shit like a G.O.B.'s, like it's wholesale thing with the mid-FTs. Taking money from the people to pay most Democrat broke, but that's okay. He's getting money even better tax-free, loving all the stimulus, the PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson.
B-side on the beat.
What's going on with that PPP? You done a lot of talking, not a lot to see. Up in the millions like 2.3, but Jeff got it all getting off scot-free. Try to talk tips like we talking about stock, but you're talking about men printed on card stock. When you open your mouth, I take it with a grain of salt, cause the market's down and you're a clown, it's all your fault. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. Did you dip, Jeff? I think you dipped, Jeff. What you talking about? I don't think you dipped yet. Willie's doing shady shit like the GOBs, like his whole failed dame with them NFTs, taking money from the people to pay. Most of them are broke, but that's okay, he's getting money. Even better, tax-free, loving all the stimulus from PPP. You ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit, Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit. Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson, you ruined the hobby I love with your bullshit.
Peace out, bitches.